All right, we are live. Welcome to Thursday night reality check. This is reality check time, guys. This is learning life the hard way and what that means. Let me welcome my panel right now, Mr. Finn. How you doing tonight?
Doing very well, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you're here. Gonzo, flannel therapist.
Yeah. I'm solving your flannels depression today.
That's excellent. Excellent. Let's look in the chat here. John Boston, Emmanuel Godson, Matt M. Yeah, good to see you guys. Yeah, we're going to talk about life lessons. Do you learn life the hard way? I don't know if that's a badge. What do you guys think? Have you heard guys say, I've grown up in the school of hard knocks?
I got a PhD in it, I feel like.
You know, what I want to kind of examine is, did we, how much do we hold ourselves accountable for that? There's so many aspects of learning the hard way, I think one of the questions is, why do some people have to learn the hard way, including myself? My dad always said, boy, you're a hard learner, stubborn. So, but I think that has to do with age. So what do you guys think about that?
I think you can know something intellectually. I think you can know something, like you can know something's wrong. Like it was funny, right? Like before sort of I came to my revelations, right? I wrote this song, and in the song I put, there's a lyric that says, you don't want to become the thing you hate, the thing that you're loathing. And a lot of people know that you don't want to become the thing you hate, but people don't realize that. Like, they may know it, but they don't truly know it. It's intellectually there, but then they're participating in it. They're going that exact road. So I think there's a difference, and that's really why some people do learn that the hard way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, go ahead, Mr. Finn.
I was going to add to that. I just think that some, if not most all people, need to learn things the hard way, especially if they want the lesson to stick. Because, like, as an English teacher, I often tell people who are afraid to learn the language that we learn by our mistakes. And I use examples from life. Like, I don't know about you guys, but my brothers and I, friends of ours, we don't listen to our parents all the time. And they told us not to do something. We do it. We mess up. It's like, okay, now I learned. So that's just like one simple example.
Yeah. Do you think that some people create their hard life, or some people, and there are some people just with bad luck? I don't like using the word bad luck, but there are people that just have, just like a cloud follows them sometimes.
They were dealt a bad hand in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think so.
When we say learning life the hard way, when the word hard, that can be subjective and objective. Correct? Would you say, Gonzo?
Maybe so, yeah.
Let me bring on Primal Man. There he is.
Hey.
He came onto the stream the hard way.
Yeah, I had to reset the old internet for some reason. I think the feds are shutting my internet down.
I do that every time before I stream. I always reset my my Wi-Fi just because.
Yeah.
Food, everything. So, but welcome. How you doing tonight, Gene?
Oh man, couldn't be better.
Awesome. Well, learning life the hard way. What do you got to say about that? The title for tonight.
Oh man, just really short. I thought about this, and I hate to see people that have to learn the hard way. But as I'm thinking, before I get all caught up in like, look at them, they got to learn the hard way. I learned the hard way. I had to learn the hard way. So is the hard way the only way to learn? Something to smoke on.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely going there. I got that in my notes. I mean, do we create that difficulty in our lives? I'm guilty of that. So, hey, Emmanuel, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm guilty of that, of learning the hard way in a lot of different things. I'm sure that you heard that, everybody has heard, well, if you've gone through trials and tribulations, it creates character.
That comes from the Bible.
Yeah, but sometimes that's not always the case. the trials and tribulations and hard times, if you created them yourself, do you still, in other words, does it improve your character or create character? And we're talking man or woman here. So,
you know, man, improving character kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit. Honestly, if I think about it, I think it's learning, but improving our character. I don't know. Can we actually do that on our own? You know, I think there comes to a point where there's got to be a spiritual intervention. So that's what I've been really smoking on lately is God. How does God affect our learning? So I'll be talking a little bit about that tonight, more so than usual when I do speak. So yeah, improving character though, man, that's I don't know. I don't know if that's the objective.
What about someone who says, you know, I've had it so hard, and I have one of my topics here tonight I wrote down was delusional. Okay. People that say I've had it so hard, I don't know if they're looking for sympathy. I don't brag about my hard times. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to put it out there. I don't think it's helpful to people. I really don't. I don't think that living in your past, I don't think is, in fact, I'm a big person on not living in the past. I live in the present. I try to learn from my past, but I don't want to live there. So, and I do remember, Gene, a long time ago, I forget the quote I had in one of my streams way back when, and you had quoted it. I think it was on your Instagram. You know, sometimes I think it was sometimes you just got to let things die.
That was it.
And that means a lot of things in your life, you know. But there's also people who, you know, hard times would be, you know, someone is always out to get them. Do you know people like that? Somebody's always out to get them.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's kind of creating hard times on yourself, I think.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anybody jump in, feel free. What about the school of hard knocks?
I think that's a term that we use for those lessons that we learn in life that can be unexpected, or we go in things. And I'm going to speak generally as like guys, you know, we're haughty, we're headstrong. You know, I don't know about you guys, but my brothers and I, when we were young, you know, invincible, I could take it, I could do it. And you learn that lesson the hard way, you know, that maybe you can't do it. So I think that's a term that kind of makes sense, you know, knocks you down, you learn the lesson, you get back up, you know, you should get up a little smarter. Right? What does it say? Do something wrong, bad on me. Do the second, you do it wrong again. Was it do it wrong, bad on you? Do it wrong a second time. It's bad on me because I didn't learn the lesson, right?
Yeah.
So it's really important. It's really important. Like I have that saying. I think we've said it in a panel before in a stream. Sometimes we win, and sometimes we learn. Right? It's not really a loss if you get a lesson out of it. So.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. I mean, not everything is a loss. You don't have to put the L up for everything, you know. Yeah, that's really good. I like that.
I wonder if sometimes we put too much emphasis on ourselves, me, when it comes to learning. Sometimes I wonder. I don't think anybody really talks about that. Are we putting too much emphasis on ourselves when we speak of learning? Could it be something that's beyond ourselves when it comes to learning? I don't know. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
I think there's a lot of things out of people's control. I mean, you know, I think as men we like to be in control of everything in our life.
Yeah.
And you can't be. That's an impossibility.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to, well, let's think about this, right? When it comes to the word, right? Let's focus on like language, you know, semantics. Language has meaning. Learning, it's an individual thing. Like you can't learn someone, like you can't force someone to learn. Like it's coming from the perspective as a teacher. I can do my best to show you the way I think you can learn something. But if the person is not either open or willing to learn it, capable or able to learn it, or just doesn't even like care, they're not going to get it. So like when it comes to learning, like I can learn something, or maybe I can't, or maybe something's difficult, but you like, how should I try to say this? We can learn maybe the same thing differently, different levels, different speeds, and we can learn the same thing, but maybe not at the same time. Does that make sense? So like learning is a very individual thing, and every single person has a specific or unique way of learning it. And that's something that I've come to understand in the process of teaching. Like I'm amazed in how much I have learned teaching. It's incredible.
You know, Mr. Finn, I know you have experience with this. You have a student, and it's like it clicks for him. Everyone has. You
can see it in the eye.
Yeah, and it's like it's the most rewarding thing probably as a teacher. And everyone, I think, when you talk about how people learn differently, everyone has that catalyst that is like the ding that went off in their brain. And a lot of times it's something motivates. It has to be the right motivation for them to learn and change and see. And the motivation and the threshold, the degree of how extreme or how quickly someone learns, I think varies from person to person. So that's something also that's also a thing, you know, a part of that.
No, that's 100%. That's 100% correct. And as a teacher, sometimes that's one of my biggest challenges is like when I know a student pretty well, like I usually can figure out how the best way to share information. Like the way I look at teaching, right? The way I look at teaching is I'm kind of just sharing a part of myself or part of my experience. Like I often tell people, just because I'm a teacher doesn't mean I know everything. Like in this subject, I may know a little more than you, or maybe I know a way to help you find how to figure it out or how to learn it. So when it's a student I know pretty well, I kind of have an easy way to pass on that knowledge or how for them to pick up that knowledge or learn it. But when I have a new student, or sometimes I have a challenging student, sometimes it's trial and error. It's trial and error. And I've often told people that when it comes to teacher-student relationship, and you look at the olden days, long time ago, where you didn't really have classrooms. You had a master and an apprentice, right? You had a master and apprentice. It's very symbiotic. Like you feed off of each other, and not I'm not the teacher for everybody. You know, like I can't teach everybody. Like my way fits a certain kind of person, I guess, or maybe a group of people, but others it doesn't. And sometimes, you know, we learn that lesson through trial and error, right? Just like scientific method, trial and error.
Okay, I want to ask the chat, everybody in the chat, what is the hardest life lesson you had to learn? I'm curious of everybody in the chat, or anybody who's watching this in the future, put it in the comment section. What is your hardest life lesson that you had to learn? I just asked that question. I actually got to think about it. I have to think about that question. Has anybody had a hard life lesson and repeated it? Like, you know, I believe that, isn't it the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result? That's the definition of insanity. So what hard lesson have you repeated even? What thing in your life have you repeated over and over and like, why am I doing this?
Not paying traffic tickets.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the hardest things for me to do.
Is it really?
It really is. I'm so stubborn with that. It's one of the hardest things for me to do. To the point where I may have the money just to pay the ticket. I'll make them wait on their money, and I'll pay a little bit at a time just because I don't want to pay. And it's the most interesting thing about myself, and I battle with it because it's like, do I agree with it all the time? No, absolutely not. It's probably the the main reason why I don't want to do it is because I don't agree with it. But it's
Slow down.
yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. Some things are nitpicked, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean that's there's a hard lesson for you right there. I mean that's the definition of a hard learner.
Yeah.
There's certain things I'm trying to think of. I think there's one thing in my life that I'm glad I did it, but I don't know if I would do it again, which is starting my own business. It's much more difficult than people think. I mean, I've provided a pretty good life for myself. I'm not going to deny that. But when you start your own business, anybody out there watching this, and if you haven't had a business, let me tell you something. If you thought you were working 40 hours, no, you're not. You're working at night. You're doing it. I mean, I'm getting emails now while I'm sitting here on my phone, looking at my phone, getting an email for a window job. But so that was kind of definitely, I learned the hard way on what it meant to be in business. Because when I started my business, for me, I had to do quality work. That's for sure. And that will sell your business more than anything. When people talk, that's what sells business. But just relying on yourself 100% to make sure there's food on the table, there's a mortgage that's paid, so there's a lot to it in starting a business. But that was learning life the hard way, was starting a business. So what about you guys? Anything for you, Mr. Finn, on Gonzo, one thing about us right here. Okay. I'm 58, Mr. Finn, you're
Tomorrow I turn 43.
Oh, excellent. Happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks.
Happy birthday. Awesome.
Thank you. Glad to spend it with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. How many hours are you ahead? 3?
No, from you, I'm 1 hour ahead.
Oh, okay.
I'm just 1 hour ahead. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'll probably spend it with you guys.
Yeah, so we got 43 coming up. We got Primal Man, who is 33, correct?
33.
And Gonzo, who is 22. So
I'm about to be 23 as well.
Wow, look at that. 10. Like, that's amazing here.
Yeah.
When is your birthday?
May 1st.
Oh, wow.
Dude, fist bump, man.
Wait, do we have the same birthday?
Bam. No, I'm April 30th. April 30th.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, right next door.
Wow, check that out. That's awesome.
Good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
See, I'm July 1st, so that's cool too.
That's cool.
Hey, Anthony's there it is. Happy birthday, Finsters. Happy birthday, Mr. Finn.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Talking about these hard lessons. I'm a person who unfortunately has for most of my life had to have learned things the hard way. I'm the oldest of 4 boys, and I pick up things quick. I think I'm a pretty good student. I like to pay attention to patterns in life, and I don't like to make the same mistake twice. Even though I have been homeless 3 times in my life, many of the hard times I had to go through were thrusted upon me. There have been not many things that I had to go through which were because of bad choices. I've made bad choices. We've all made bad choices. I'm no saint in that aspect, but I've had a lot of hard things. Like one of the hardest things that was in life was my parents split up on my 8th birthday. Now my mom denies it. She's like, it wasn't your birthday, but I really clearly remember it was my 8th birthday. I remember
like right when you were blowing out the candles.
Well, I remember I was playing outside with my brother getting called in, and I just, everything was tense. But getting back to the topic, right? I think one of the things that I still have issues with is probably dealing with my wife. And what do I mean by that? I know her.
Don't we all though?
Oh, dude, look.
Not dealing with your wife, but
look, like I know her, right? I mean, we've been married, was it 6 years now? Then we've been together for 7. I know her. I know how she acts. I know what she thinks. I know what sets her off. And she's very big on these languages of love, right? 5 languages of love, right? And hers is words of affirmation. She wants to be always like complimenting things are good. And I try to do that, but that's not how I am. I'm a very straight shooter. I'm very, I don't say I'm blunt, but I'm not a person that beats around the bush. That's caused me to be kind of like, people out here in Brazil think I'm rude, because Brazil, people here, they want to sugarcoat everything. They don't want to be very direct. And I'm not like that. And I'm quiet oftentimes if I don't want to be hurtful, if I'm thinking of anyways. So she gets pissed off, and I don't know, man. I'm kind of like, I'm stuck in my ways. Like, I'm working, I'm hard, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it takes me about a day or two to kind of go and talk to her. I'm sorry, this and that. But I think that's the one until today, that's the one thing that I can't seem to get right.
Yeah, I think that's something. I think we all struggle with that in any kind of relationship, whether you're in a marriage or dating, or I think that struggle is always there. But we had talked about this on I think it was Sunday night. Yeah, my surprise Sunday night stream.
I watched it.
How we're fixers, how we got to fix it, and we got to fix it now. In fact, I talked to a friend of mine who's a contractor about this today, about how we have to fix something, and it has to be fixed now. But women have a different mindset and a different way that they process the same information we do. Not all, but most. But that's the beauty of a woman, is that they're going to look at it differently. I think they're going to look at it emotionally. And that's a hard lesson right there for any man to learn, is how to deal with your woman, how to treat her, how to, understand a woman, period. And the way they tick. Not only that, understand your woman, which is more important. I am not a very big believer in the AWOLT. In fact, I've always had a hard time with feminine traits in women that men have to learn. This is a hard lesson for people, but I think learning the individual is more important than theory and putting them all in a group. Like Dr. Shawn Smith said on his last video, if anybody hasn't seen that, it's about theory, really good video. But the part that sticks out to me is all salmon are like that, where somebody eats a bad can of salmon, and could it be the rust? I forget how he put it. So does that mean all salmon are bad? No. So be careful on your theories. And this is another hard lesson that I'm learning. So
that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
What's so funny too is, like, I watched that live stream and I related a lot to it. And the funny thing is, I know all this. Like I know. And the funny thing is, it's so hard. Like, you may know something, but putting into practice, it's a whole nother concept, right? And the funny thing is, like, I understand most women, my wife in particular, they want to be heard. They got emotions, they're feeling things, they want to be heard. But you know what? Like, I don't have the time sometimes, or I can't listen to you now, or can we wait till later? And sometimes that's like where the tension comes. Like, she wants me to listen now, I can't, or I got to do this. And oh man, it's that dance. It's that dance.
Let's see this. Some men pick bad women habitually, and then AWOLT. I'm going to agree with you there.
Yeah.
That's actually a very true statement right there. And I think that the word, bad women, that is subjective or relative to the situation. So I think it's who you invite into your life is really the main issue there. So, but yeah, I mean, I could piss off a lot of people when I say I don't believe in AWOLT, and I truly don't. I think there are certain qualities and about that all women have. We'll just put it that way. I'm not sure if the word is qualities, but certain functions that all women have. But I think that when we look at this theory and put them all into a box, I truly don't think that's healthy. I think sometimes you have to look at the individual. So,
Well, I've got
so take that, my black pill fellows.
Yeah, I don't believe in that either. I have a story kind of about all of these things at once, right? But I had a friend, right, good buddy of mine. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but I remember we were just getting started in business. We were talking about different stuff. We were smoking on stuff, and I mean, this guy. Just to give you guys an idea of who I'm talking about. I mean, this guy, he went hardcore. I'm not even sure if it's a thing anymore, really, but like it became a really big movement several years ago, like the meninism or like men's rights activism, and he got really hardcore into that for a while.
I think they're called feminists.
Feminists?
Meninists,
yeah, meninists, men's rights activists. And this guy had just gotten out of college, like studying, religion and all this stuff. And, he became a hardcore atheist, and he, we would smoke on all these different ideas at the time. Hey. I'm sorry, my wife's opening a chip bag right now. See, these women, man. No. But I'll tell you.
I thought that was the ever so gentle rain on Gonzo's rooftop.
All women are like it. They'll open a chip bag right in the middle of the stream.
Oh man, that was so good. But no, my buddy, he's like, we're smoking on these different ideas, and one day, we'd never really gotten like super serious, like really like personal. And one day, we sit down, and I'm working on shit, and he's just like, okay, man, I got to tell you this. We got to have a heart to heart, Dan. Never get involved with a fucking woman ever. Just don't fucking do it. Don't get near a woman. And I was like, okay. And he was like, what the deal? And he tells me this horrible story. He tells me this insane freaking story. He's like, so I made some bad choices in my life, and how
old is this guy?
Oh, like almost 30, around 30 something.
30?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's like, man, let me tell you what happened. This, my girlfriend or whatever, pretty much we thought she was pregnant for a bit. Turned out not to be the case. And I'd like watch her take the pill and stuff, but it ended up being this like huge ordeal. It was a huge issue. And he's like, it's not as like he told me straight up. He's like, I used to be so angry at women for a long time because of this event and all this stuff that had happened, that I didn't even want to be in a room with a woman. That's how angry this guy was. And so, and he's like, it's not that bad now. I don't mind women. I know that, a lot of them are, they're misled to have troubles, but just don't ever get involved with a woman. They will ruin you. They will ruin your business. They'll ruin everything. Especially don't get them involved in the business. And I said, like, I agree with you, dude. Like, I think it's a dumb idea to like prioritize, the woman over the business. Now, of course, later on, I went and I got myself in a damn relationship. Silly me. And it didn't work out. I got burned. And it largely didn't work out because of my choices, but also it was on her part as well. It was just not good. It was not healthy all around. She was all screwed up, and I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to lead, didn't know my direction. Just didn't have anything. So I had to learn that the hard way. But what I realized from that story is that I didn't really, like, I may have known, like, there's a problem with women. There's a problem with the culture right now. There's a problem with all this stuff. But I wasn't able to, like, it didn't give me any direction for anything to do about it except avoid it. That's what I observed. So it really just kind of, I think you can learn from other people's mistakes. And so I definitely didn't make those same mistakes that he made, which was a good thing. But I did get burned. And so I think if you're gonna like, you know, give people advice or like do something like that, I think it's got to be practical. It can't just be run away. And so that's where I disagree with the black pill largely.
Yeah, I think we've concentrated so much. I mean, there's so many people that concentrate on these pills, and I had some talks with some people here recently about this whole, you know, people get in this group, and I think we talked about this earlier. Was that I think it was off camera here? Is that people identify with these groups, and what happens is they take on the identity of the group and who accepts them, and they lose their own identity, and they have to take on these what's the word for the thought processes? What's the word I'm looking for? The you know, in a certain group, their ideologies, I think is the word I'm looking for. They have to accept those, and I think a lot of these different groups, I think what it creates is a lot of angry, lonely guys who let something pass that they shouldn't have. You get what I'm saying? So that's a hard life lesson. I've learned that lesson myself, that I've let things, yeah, there it is, groupthink. That's funny. That's great. That's great, Anthony, because that's exactly what I said. I was talking to somebody earlier, somebody we all know, about that, and that was the word actually I came up with, was groupthink. And yeah, so, but I want to ask the chat, what is your don't be shy in the chat, what is your hardest life lesson you had to learn? Throw it in there. I want to put it up on the screen. Let's go. Anthony Velasquez, what is your hardest life lesson that you had to learn? What did you learn the hard way? Now, let's get into it. Learning the hard way is not always the best way, is it? I mean, people wear that like a badge. Is it always a badge to learn the hard way? Oh, I learned the hard way. I mean, some people are proud of that. That's not something that, like I was saying earlier, it's not something that I project. I don't want to say, oh, I learned that the hard way, you know? So is learning it the hard way, man, Gonzo, Mr. Finn, you think that's always the best option? I don't think so.
Of course not. I mean, of course not. But I think one of the biggest issues is when it comes to individual or human pride. Like, who are you to tell me how to do something? And you do it, and then like, oh crap, I should have listened. You know? So I don't think it's the best way. I think if someone does learn by example, then okay, you showed some insight or some wisdom. You know, unfortunately, people, and nowadays I think with social media and stuff, everyone just thinks that they know everything. That who are you to tell me? I'm gonna try it, I'm gonna do it, and then they fall flat on their face, or they suffer, they hurt, and then they learn. But no, I don't think it's the best way. I don't think it's the best way.
Let's look at what Matt says. He said rushing into decisions because of impatience, learning to be patient. Yeah, that's a hard lesson. That's a hard lesson. And again, that goes with women. I mean, that's, you know, in a relationship, is learning to be patient. I think that's a really important one.
On that comment there, think about this. How many people nowadays work for something that they want? Like save, plan, and earn it. Like, how many people actually do that nowadays? That's one of the lessons that my father taught me that I will never forget. Like, he never gave me really anything I wanted. I had to earn it. And it made me kind of partially, you know, I'll say partially, a lot of how I am today as a man. Like, everything I have, I earned. How many people do that nowadays? People just put on a credit card, and then they get credit card debt, and then they suffer, and then they got to work at a job they don't like to make money to pay a debt, and then they don't enjoy life. They don't enjoy the things that they got in debt to buy. They become slaves to their possessions, and it's a vicious cycle. And
Let me tell you,
aren't we all slaves to possessions nowadays?
I try not to be.
Let me tell you something, and this is the honest truth. I'm self-employed. What I do is I work on my hands. Okay, I work on my hands, and I'm self-employed though, and I have a trade. And I'm on the interstate, and I got my equipment, and I'm just, you know, my equipment's in a trailer behind me, and I'm just driving down, and I'm seeing people in BMWs, and I drive a big pickup truck. I see people in BMWs, nice cars. There's buildings, you know, around me. The city's over here, the skyline's over here, and there's just advertisements, billboards, and the whole thing of like consumerism. I mean, I'm seriously just driving, and I'm looking off into the distance, and I'm trying to find something good to listen to as far as music, and I'm just like, I don't want nothing to do with this. I really don't want anything to do with this stuff out here. All I want to do, work hard, come home to one woman with children in a nice house and take care of them and stand when I need to stand, go to church, be a good man, like the salt of the earth. Just me. I don't want this stuff, because that's what it is out here. I don't want what they have for me.
Yeah, you know, me and Gene had a little talk today privately, and he had talked about, he's like, you ever thought about just like going somewhere and starting over? And I said, of course I have. You know, just like, you know, I've been living on the beach here for almost 30 years now. You know, so yeah, I've thought about like just bailing. And I don't think it's bailing. I think it's starting new, you know, a new chapter. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, I lived up in New York, up in upstate New York, not New York City, of course, but, you know, a really nice, beautiful area. And then I moved to the beach, and I've been here a while. So it might be something, I don't know, you know, but I love my home. I mean, I'm very happy here where I'm at. Let's address Drew. Drew Baumhauer says, moving away from family for a job, chasing the almighty dollar, biggest regret I have. Yeah, that's true. I think that a lot of people chase that dollar and move away from family. Now, my mom and dad moved to Florida. It's kind of a funny story. And I moved them down here. And 6 months later, after being here for a couple of weeks, I'm like, I'm moving to Florida. The hell with this. And my dad always says, you are always the one that has to stay close to the teat. He says, you got to stay close to the teat. He said, you'll never be away from mommy and daddy. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. So
it's a good thing, though, to have your parents near.
Yeah, it is. It is. Let's look at the chat here. Vivian says, trust your intuition no matter what. That is my lesson. Every time I ignore things, it goes sideways. Anthony Velasquez with this again is life is not fair and no one is coming to save you. That's so true. That is so true. But Matt M says, I'll save you, Anthony. So John Boston says, Drew, I've seen many people move for work. I couldn't do that. And yeah, John Boston definitely seems like a family man. That's cool. Vivian says, hookup culture includes all age groups. Primal man, men and women of all ages are engaging in sex with zero consequences. What's your point? Just kidding. Let's look at light in the dark. Sometimes seeking quick pleasure is hunting for slow pain. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Drew says, I told myself I never would. Yeah. Let me look at the chats here. Yeah. Anthony says, very true. John Boston says, that's okay. My mom is nearby. So are both my sisters and their families. Good for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Light in the dark says, I've tasted the flavor of slow pain. Yeah, I think we all have. And that's a hard lesson to learn right there. I think we get in this, I think sometimes we get in this cycle of pain, and sometimes people aren't happy unless they have some sort of pain in their life. And I think you get so used to it that it becomes a part of your life, and sometimes you need to let that go. So
I think for some people, pain is the only way they know how to live. It's the only way they can feel life. I think some people have suffered so much that they don't really feel alive unless they feel some kind of pain. And that's why you have those cases, unfortunately, where people actually hurt themselves, cut themselves and stuff so they can feel some kind of pain. And it's very unfortunate, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so good. I'm glad the chat's engaging, because I think this is important that when I don't want people to get too personal unless you want to, but, talking about your hard lessons, I think will help you not repeat them. And the lesson, and also it'll help other people not repeat that same lesson. As men, I think probably one of the biggest hard lessons that we learn in life is, again, we go back to dealing with a woman, or your woman, your wife, your partner, your whatever you want to call it. But I think that's one of the biggest life lessons that men need to learn, is how to deal with issues in your relationships. And again, men and women are different, so you have to deal with I'm not sure what happened to my StreamYard here. Oh, okay. But the sun must have set because everything went dark. Okay. That's the beauty of an Apple computer. So
I think the ultimate lesson to learn is that we've done things wrong for a very long time. Everything we've done is wrong, besides the fact of industrialism and progressive, consumerism and making life more luxurious. But besides that, we've done everything wrong.
And even that might not even be right.
I was just about to say that, Gonzo.
Industrialism, yeah.
Yeah.
let me address.
Yeah.
Let's continue on here. Let me address Drew real quick. Doing something about it though. He says busting ass for the next few years and plan to be back home in 2025. Good for you. Good for you.
I'm on that same path, Drew.
Yeah. The most scary lesson is that people love to wear face masks even when they're alone. That is a scary lesson. Yeah. That's a tough one. That's a hard pill to swallow. I don't care what color it is. But when I see somebody walking down a bike path or, out here, down the beach with a face mask on, I'm like, do you really think this stuff is flying through the air? But maybe that's a lesson that person has to learn.
The hard way.
So, but that's what we're talking about is learning life the hard way. So, Gonzo, let me ask you, do you think that's a badge of honor, or is it something that you want to not tell people about?
Ideally, you would learn everything in life from the mistakes of others. Like, that would be the ideal way to do things. Do I think it's a badge? No, I don't think it's a badge per se, but I think it can help you to teach other people a lesson. Like I said, I think sometimes you can help other people. You can say, hey, if you just mark this X in the sand and don't step here because I stepped here and it was really bad, then maybe that can work. Of course, that can be also misconstrued as well, right? Like we were talking clever theories. Shawn,
tell someone not to step on the X, they're gonna step on it. Especially a woman. Sorry about that.
Well, it's also just not about. I think it's also when it with the women thing specifically. It's not just like for example, I think bad advice would just be don't do this, just don't, or just don't, or just don't step there in general. I think that the key is to know why it didn't work out, because most of the time it isn't just because you stepped in the wrong place. It can be, but there's usually a lot of factors that go into why something doesn't work out. And so I think that's the real lesson to share with people, because if you just give people that advice of all women are like that, or you can't escape it, it's everywhere, it's not gonna work out. You're not equipping anyone with anything. I think we need to equip people with actual advice, actual lessons, actual observable things. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a badge of honor, though. I don't think it's a badge of honor to learn the hard way, but I think you can use it for good.
Yeah, I mean, it would be so much easier if we could learn from other people, but that's not, how much. I think it depends on the faith you have in that person that's giving you that advice. Do it this way. I've been there. Don't do it. But sometimes we have to learn for ourselves, and that's what I call a hard learner. And I have fitted in that category of a hard learner, for sure. I might be tougher on myself than probably a lot of people are, but I think that's a good thing. Excuse my burp there, but let's look into the chat here. I'm going to Oh, this is funny. I didn't want to miss the Oscars nor the Biden address. Yeah. I think the mask is symbolic of so many things. For some, it's simply avoiding confrontation. For others, it's Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, that's a really good comment. Yeah. Gonzo, she's not yours. It's just your turn. That's what Susan says. Yep. Yep.
Man.
Doing monkey double backflips, John. Yep.
I mean, I want to bring this up. This is nothing surprising, but sometimes people don't really know they're messing up most of the time. They're not out here being like, I'm just going to be a 100% first class rebel and go against everything that I was taught and everything that my mama and daddy told me not to do. Sometimes they do it because they don't think nothing's wrong with it, for lack of better words. They don't think it's going to cost them pain down the road.
A lot of people don't see the hard lesson coming.
They don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they do, that's what separates.
Do you think that's a blind spot that a lot of us have, is that we don't want to believe that that's coming?
It could be a blind spot. It could be lack of forethought also. Like some people, it goes back to like what I was saying before about people planning and saving and working towards the goal. Sometimes and I think maybe this is maybe more men than women. I don't know, in my experience, but we're very headstrong. We go into it with little thought of the consequences, whether they be good or bad consequences, right? And it's something that I learned early on in life, especially for big decisions. Like I sleep on it. I'll write things down. I'll try to foresee, almost like a chess move, like foresee the next few steps. Like if I make this decision, where will it take me? Like what are the the following events that will, it's like a domino, like dominoes. You push that domino and it puts a whole series of events in action. So some things it's okay, go through it and maybe, okay, you take a hit and you learn from it. But I think some big decisions, you really got to like marinate, smoke on it. Just try to think of every little thing that can happen. It's just so if it does, you can be prepared, right?
Yeah, let's look at some of the consequences and let's say fallout from making a bad choice or learning a hard lesson. I think the main one is going to be a form of depression, because you're now dealing with the consequences of your decision or your hard learning life lesson. Any other fallout you guys can think of from now? I'll give a quick, and I said this I think on a couple streams ago, but that this is my opinion. When you guys are going through something in your life, one of the best things you can do is actually help somebody out, because there's always somebody going through the same thing that you're going through. And so helping somebody out, when I say helping somebody out, I mean supporting another friend, whether it be a man or a woman, support that person, but it's actually going to make you feel better. And that's something that I've noticed also too. I'm going to put the link in the chat. So if anybody wants to come on and talk about a hard life lesson or has anything to say, you're welcome to come on. This
is a interesting topic that we can go for hours on. Yeah. I mean, we can just go on and on with this one. I like that, though. I like that.
I might spin off of it one night and do it myself too, because it is a really good topic. And what you said, Tony, it's important. It's valid. I think those of us who, and we've talked about this on many subjects, if we're in a position to help, we should. It's like the right thing to do. I've gone through a lot, right, in life myself, and as an English teacher, as a teacher, as an influencer, right, like an educator, not really a teacher, because I find myself when I'm with teens, not necessarily with my adult students, but when I'm with teens, I really try to partake a part of who I am in my life experience, and I try to really give my kids a good perspective on things, like how to see things clearly, because sometimes things are diluted or confusing the way it's either filtered through media, social media, peers, friends, and sometimes they need to have a right perspective. And just on that topic, right? I think I had one of the hardest talks or encounters. I think it was 2 years ago. I was giving a class, and one of my girls, who was 14, right? At the end of the class, she made a comment like it didn't sit right. Like, I'll say, yeah, see you guys later. She's like, no, maybe not. And I've already seen signs of her maybe trying to be suicidal. And I spent 45 minutes with her talking. And I still have contact with her today, and it's doing better. So this idea of like, if we go through things, like we all have experiences in life, and if we see someone maybe going down the path that we've gone down before, I think it's like, hey, what is the true act of love? Telling someone the truth, or stopping them, you know, hey, that stick of dynamite in your hand, it's pretty, right? But it's going to blow up. Hey, put it out. You know, it's like an extreme example. But if we see people in our lives that have maybe repeating things or doing things that we have done, I think we should speak up.
That's exactly the comment that I just left for Viv.
Yeah, let me address Ben. Just so you guys know, Ben is a personal friend of mine that lives here in town. We've been friends for years. It's the first time. I'm really stoked to see him in here. I'm stoked. Good guy. He said, I think men are used to exerting our will on things. We can build things, we can fix things, so we tend to believe that we can do the same with relationships. Yeah, we talked about on the last stream about men. We are fixers. We got to fix it now. But what we got to learn is that we can't fix it now. Women have a different mindset. They have to process. They start with emotions. Women are emotional. And that's one of the beautiful parts about women, is that they are emotional. I mean, you know, that's one of the things we love about women. So yeah, that's true. Let me see what Drew says. This is really good. Time lost is the worst. Time you can't be with the family, and extra time you lose personally having to travel to visit. Yeah. Yeah. Let me see some more. Going through removing tattoos from reflection in the mirror. Tattoos, few, but will see me. You know they are there, and choose to not let them define you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ben, it's good to see you, man. Really good to see you here, for sure. You are, you know, anybody's welcome to jump in the live chat. Don't be shy. Not the live chat, but jump. You can come right on the stream and talk with us. All you do is hit that link. I have it pinned to the top. Don't be shy. If you've never been on a live stream before, this will, you know, pop your cherry, so to speak. So, so we're popping cherries tonight, guys.
Man.
You know, here's some truth too. People are gonna go after what they want. If they want to be a whoremonger, they're gonna be a whoremonger. If they want to be a godly man, they'll be a godly man. If they want to be a sloot, they'll be a sloot.
Yeah.
I mean, no amount we can stand up for it and warn people, but at the end of the day, if that's what they want, nothing but a spiritual intervention is going to change that, because at that point it's spiritual. It's not logical. People, you know, overrule their logic with what's in their heart. So if you have stuff in your heart, you're going to go after that. If you want that, you're going to go after that. And what do we all know about the heart? It's deceitful. Who can know it? And who can know it?
But you know what, too, though, Gene? Some people, logic just doesn't work with them. You know, it doesn't matter. It's like you're beating a dead horse. It's not going to move.
Well, yeah, that's my point. That's my point. People are going to do what they want, regardless of logic, because of the spirit that has, you know, that dwells in them, and that's okay. I mean, it's not, but you can't logically convince them. Let's speak as far as like relationship. And it doesn't mean it has to be an intimate relationship. It could be friendship or a coworker, just relationships in general. That's when, if we're invested in that relationship, then we have to figure out, okay, so I'm a logical, rational thinking person, but they don't speak my language. So now I got to figure out, how am I going to communicate? Like, how am I going to get to this person? And that's where the challenge comes in. And talking about like what you said there, like people, you know, they want to go after what they want. Have you noticed, and I could think of a few examples of my own life,
personally and just around me, some people love to be the victim. Like some people, just like they love like bad things happen, or they will inflate, or
what I like to call self-sabotage.
Yeah, you know, because it's like they love the drama, or they love the pity, or they love the attention they get from, oh my God, oh again, oh poor me, oh, it's like, oh my gosh, I have so little patience.
Let me interrupt you real quick. I just wanted to put this in there for Ben and whoever else, but don't forget about the course. Okay, see the banner on the bottom. This was a while ago. We dropped it. It was $4.99. Now it's $2.49. How to meet a high value woman, $249. We do have, as John Boston knows, if he's still in the chat, we have overnight shipping. This is volume 1. We condensed 12 volumes into 10. Okay, so again, how to meet a high value woman, $249. How to keep a high value woman isn't till, I think that's volume 6 or 7, if I'm correct. So I just wanted to,
volume 6.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that in there. So little comedic. There we go.
You could call it comic relief, huh?
Yeah, comic relief, little comedic relief here tonight.
Comic intermission.
Yeah, yeah. Anthony Velasquez says beating horses and popping cherries on Thursday night. Yes, sir.
What Tony Bruno does best.
What Tony Bruno does best. Yes, sir. We might have lost some people when I dropped my high value woman course tonight. Just so you guys know, that's not real. But if you want to give me $249, I'll tell you how to keep one, meet one, and then how to lose one. So
give me a stimmy.
Yeah, the third volume will be free. So, but yeah, anybody that's out there right now, you want to jump in? Again, I got it pinned to the top of the chat. Just hit that link, and if it's your first time, just chill out, no big deal, and talk. Don't be afraid.
I want to hit on what Vivian says here about girls are not raised to know how to be mothers, right? I think there's a lot of truth to this. We're having, I think, this kind of gap in generations here, where young girls, young ladies, they're not being raised on how to use their natural feminine power, abilities. Mm-hmm. They have been manipulated and controlled by society to try to go after the things that naturally come to men, as far as career, mm-hmm. work, and getting pride out of achieving career success in your career and stuff. And I mentioned this like on my live last night, where it's like women, because I was talking about time and age and how the effects of time, and how many women nowadays are encouraged to marry and have children. They're encouraged to have a career.
Yeah.
Right. And
it should be the exact opposite. It should be go ahead and pursue your family, have your kids when you're young. And
that's my point. That's my point. Because like Tony, you have your own career. I am self-employed 90%. Gene does his own thing. It takes a lot of time, effort, grit, persistence to be able to sustain yourself like that. Now, and I was talking to a few doctors last night, and they were backing up what I was saying. A woman's the best time for her to have a child, in a healthy way, 18 to 30, 35. Dude.
Oh, 35?
That's what I'm saying. After that, they can do it, but you're running high risks. You're running high risks of complications, Down syndrome, and things like this. It's possible, and medicine has gotten better. But the point I'm trying to make here in learning these lessons, and I'm all about helping people, men and women. These women nowadays and young girls are being sold a bag of lies.
Yes, that's got to stop.
They're being sold a bag of lies. I'm not, and I don't want to sound misogynistic. Like I'm not like anti-woman work. No. they can work, but it shouldn't be the main focus. And I'm speaking in general. Of course, some women, they're not motherly wife type of material. Okay, go get a career, go be whatever. But in general, I'm all about focusing on family, getting family strong again. Because that family is part of society. It's the building blocks. It's the foundation of society. You get families better, you get society better, gets the state better, gets the world better. You know, it's like that domino effect.
In all of my life, I've never seen a career woman more happy than a mother. In all my life, never, not once.
Actually, you see women who've regretted.
Let's think about this though, because what happens is we go back to what Gene was saying earlier about the stuff and the things. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the blame has to go back to the man, because
it does.
To live that lifestyle, okay, you need your woman working. And to me, that's a weak man. In other words, if you're a man, take care of your woman, you know, and if she's going to be at home, take care of that situation. Mm-hmm. Take care of your kids. There's nothing wrong with that. But what happens is people get so used to a certain lifestyle. You have to have your BMWs. You have to have your beautiful big home. You have to keep up with the Joneses.
Another bag of lies.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah. So I don't think that that a woman with a career, you know, let me tell you something, guys. At my age, I don't want a woman that has nothing. I'm sorry. I don't want that. That's not what I want in my life. I want a successful woman. I want a woman that has something that she can bring to the table, you know?
Well, I guess it depends on what you define as success, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is like the type of like what society defines as success right now is going to be different than like what you define as success, right?
Yeah, I think what I define as sex.
Freudian
define as success is we'll define sex later, but what I define as success is a woman that has her shit together. In other words, she's confident. She's confident in herself. She takes care of herself, but she's also feminine. She's also girly, and she respects the fact that a man is a man and a woman is a woman.
But she also needs to have 5 degrees, right?
No. I mean, I think that I've been down the road to where I've spent too much time supporting women. And I don't think that's necessary in my life anymore.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. And the point I was trying to make, though, is just this idea of like, in general, like the way it's being pushed in society is like, okay,
sugar mama. I'm a little old for a sugar mama. I have to be about 90. Sorry, it doesn't work for me. Carly says I can bring home the bacon and fry it in the pan.
I want to hear what Finn's got to say. I interrupted him.
Anthony says successful, bro.
Successful, bro.
You guys know what I meant. I meant successful, not sex.
That was awesome, though. A nice Freudian slip.
Yeah.
No, but I mean that was the kind of point I was making, because when Vivian said in that comment it was really, I think it's really on point. It's really on point, right? Because you look at society today, and everybody is being taught to seek for the same thing, you know, and there's a disconnect, right? Like Tony said, everybody's got you got 2 income households because you got to pay the bills. And I think that society's been pushed in a way where it's forcing us to overextend ourselves, to work at jobs we don't like, to make money that's worth nothing, to buy things that we don't need. And it's a vicious cycle. It's just a vicious cycle. And it gets back to what we were saying before, as being slaves to our possessions. But if we learn from the past and think about this, like I grew up with my grandparents around and the stories that they told. I'm sure Tony did too. How many of the kids nowadays have that? Like my poor kids, like this is one of the reasons why I can't wait to get back to America. Like what Drew's saying, I want to get back to kind of where my family is and family support, because like my in-laws, they're not around. They live in the same city here. My kids, they don't have contact with the grandparents. So I'm really lucky that they have both their parents with them. But it's this vicious, we're seeing like a new kind of vicious cycle emerging here. You know, with 2 income families, there's no mom around. So the young ladies are not learning how to be ladies, like traditionally speaking, you know, where they could grow up to be mothers and wives and things like that. And nothing's wrong with them working, like seriously. But what's more important? Like if you have kids, who's going to raise your kid? You or the state? So you can go to work, you know? And
it's what gets me is the cognitive dissonance about it. You know, it's like everyone knows that what we're speaking here is the truth.
I mean, how strange is it nowadays to see like a very young couple having kids? People almost look down to them. Like if you have an 18, 19-year-old girl with with her new husband or get married and they have a baby, it's like, they're looked down upon, like, like slut, like she. But to me, that was our grandparents and my parents.
No, what I always hear is I always hear they rushed into it. Oh, hope they didn't mess up. I hope they didn't make a bad mistake. They got married too early.
Yeah.
How's that working out for you? How'd that work out for you? Let me know. You know, that's what I want to tell them.
Yeah.
A lot of young couples now are just having a puppy.
Yeah, Gonzo is Gonzo's 22 years old, and he got married this past year, and I think that's awesome. I'm happy for him.
Well,
I really am.
Y'all just made me think of this, though, right? I think that it does get more difficult the older you get, because when you're younger, right, there's less years of indoctrination. There's less years, I mean, depending on the woman, right, but depending on the situation. But I'm just thinking, right, as soon, like, the older and older you get, these women have been through, a lot of them have been through college, or maybe not, but a lot of them are. They're going through college. Most of them. Yeah. They're going through all of these types of indoctrination. Then they get through their career. They've been told to focus on their career. And, by the time you get to, you start to get higher and higher numbers, there's just, you're going to have to walk through you're going to have to go through 30, 40 years of indoctrination.
Yeah. Also debt.
And debt. Yeah. And student loans. Yeah.
Debt.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
And so I also just want to point out too, real quick, that I'm not sure I would call it a silent majority, because I don't know, because I don't think you can measure this stuff. If anybody can find some data, that'd be great. But I think there are a lot of women that they know something's wrong. Like they know shit just ain't right, because it isn't working out. And maybe the indoctrination has told them that they should be saying, yeah, this is working out. But all they need to hear somebody who's saying, yeah, this isn't working out, and this is the truth. And so I think that's that's what we need to do. And I was Vivian's comment made me think of that. But it's like, yeah, I think there are some women who know that it just isn't right. Some stuff just isn't working out.
And then we go back to what Finn was saying at that point of enlightenment, when that light goes off and you can tell they caught it. But how much grinding, Finn, do you have to do as a teacher before they get to that point? And you're like, you got it. You finally realized it. So there's a sense of suffering in that period. And there's a sense of a threshold that person has to process until they realize, whoops, I learned that lesson the hard way, but I'll learn from it nonetheless. So that's the good news about all of this, is that when that light does go off, it's all uphill from there.
It's like they're a hot air balloon. Like, okay, now they're lifting off. It's like when the light goes off, it's like, okay, so now you have your own light to guide your path. Like I don't have to be that light for you. I don't have to, like I said, as a teacher, I look at it as like I'm like a guide, like a roadmap. I'm helping you to get to your destination. But once I see that spark, once that light's there, it's like, now you got it. Safe travels. I'm here if you need me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Ben says they have also been through bad relationships and life experience that change them from the bright-eyed young women that they once were. Yeah, that's true.
Starting with their fathers.
Hey, I was just about Gene, man. I was just about to say that, and you know, Gene came in and talking about this, the theological kind of God aspect, and I wanted to bring that in. Like, it's old fashioned, and I'm a Bible believing Christian, but the thing is, when it comes to our women, they go from the care of their fathers to the care of their husbands, and that's in a way how it's supposed to be, and they're supposed to be taken care of. They are powerful beings, women, in their feminine, natural way, and they complement us. And when it's like yin and yang, when it fits together, it's seamless. It's seamless, and that's how it's supposed to be. We as men are supposed to take the hits. We're supposed to be the rough ones, and face the trials and everything else. And there are comfort. And so, yeah, they've been messed up. A lot of them have. They've gone through hard stuff. They've lost that innocence. But it's been, like Gene said, first the neglect of their father, and then they're thrown to the it's lambs thrown to the wolves.
Well, sometimes not even neglect, just ignorance of their father, lack of lack of knowledge.
Men raising their sons.
Yeah.
Just like women raising their daughters, men raising their sons.
I told Gonzo we were getting into discussion about this, and Gonzo said something. I replied, beta dads of the 80s and 90s have destroyed our women. Like,
it's funny you say that, because again, I'm about taking ownership and taking responsibility. And I think what happens is a lot of women that chose, or I don't want to say chose, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but whoever they linked up with a weak man. And what happens is a woman doesn't want to be with a weak man. So she has to leave and look further. I think that's the reality. But Michael Foster, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. I'd love to see you in here, man. That'd be awesome. Love to see you jump in for a little bit. We're probably going to go another half hour or so, but yeah, it's learning life the hard way. And I'll tell you what, I've had some great private conversations with Michael Foster. And I think this is a guy who probably has learned life the hard way, but absolutely made the best of it. We're talking 7 kids, I think now. And a pastor, just an all-around stand-up guy, So
I'm still smoking. Really interesting.
Yeah. So Michael Foster, if you're still in live here, there's the link is pinned to the top of the chat. Anybody else wants to jump on live, don't be afraid. Don't be shy.
I'm trying to think of where to hit this at again, because it's so big. You can just whack any kind of angle and hit the target,
Yeah, I mean, like we say, school of hard knocks.
I got a question. I got a topic. I got a smoke, as we say. What's the difference? How do men and women learn lessons differently? How do they learn? Do they so we can also say, do they learn at all? I mean, there's a question there.
Some people don't. Some people don't, unfortunately. I've seen some cases where just it doesn't matter how hard people fall on their backside, they just never learn. And it's sad.
I really believe that men and God are the only things to stop women in a downward spiral. Because I don't think women can do this on their own.
They can. They can't.
I don't think they can learn from a bad situation without either an intervention from God or either the guidance from another man, which should have been their dad. I mean, that's why we're here.
Well, biblically speaking, and Michael Foster would be much better at talking on this than I would, but it is supposed to be the elder women to raise the younger women. It's not the job for the men to teach the women how to be women, right. But it is our job to have them under our care and guidance. Like, they're under our protection in a sense. That's where I was talking about, women go from the care of their father to the care of the husband. That's like, look, for example, in the Western world, how we marry. The father of the bride brings the bride down and now passes the bride to the husband, to the groom, right? The bridegroom standing there waiting to receive his bride from the father. And that symbolizes biblically what that transition is supposed to be like. Goes from the care of the father to the care of the husband, right? But it's not our job. Like, I have a daughter. She's the cutest little thing in the world. And any, like, just the idea of anything happening to her, like, makes me crazy. I'm going to protect her through and through. And if anybody, when she grows up, wants to date my little girl, they have to prove to me that they're a man enough to do it. Because, and I'm not into this kind of like social dating stuff, because most people just want to hook up. So it takes women, elderly women, grandmas, moms. It's the women teach women. You know, I don't know how women
That's
think.
true. That's true.
I don't know how women think.
They're products of their communities, but what if their community is bad? I mean, the community for women is terrible right now. You know, their family members are horrible influences on them.
Gotta find a good church or something.
Find a good church. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know,
I mean, seriously though, because look, we're men. I understand, like my wife, but I don't understand. Like I get how to reach her, but like at the same time, I mess up every time. How does that work? You know, how does? I get guys. I understand we have problems. You know, duke it out. We fight, we argue, and then we're cool. So that's what I mean.
Here he is. There he is.
Welcome.
Yeah, you've been requested quite highly here on the stream, Michael Foster. Good to see you.
What's up, guys?
Good to see you, Michael.
So here's my problem I have with you guys is I like you guys too much, and I end up staying on these streams too long. So I've decided not to plug my computer in. I've got a new MacBook Pro. I've got 73% energy, and this battery that the ghosts of Steve Jobs created is terrible. So this is going to give me accountability. So I'll go to bed tonight at a decent hour.
Good.
Here we go.
Yeah. So it's the topic tonight is learning life the hard way. You know, do you carry that as a badge of honor sometimes? Do you tell people about it, or do you not tell people about it? Like something I don't want to say you're ashamed of, but can you teach people from your hard lessons? Or
did you guys see me pull that hair from my mouth?
Yeah.
So here's what happens when you marry a beautiful woman with long hair. You could be eating the most amazing meal ever, and you're like, and you just pull a hair out of your mouth, right? And that's exactly what just happened right now. And that's the cost of a happy marriage right there, is that sometimes the protein of female hair finds its way in your mouth.
And it's completely okay.
Yeah, I can deal with it. I don't, you can buy my 5-week Gumroad course on how to keep hair out of your mouth. It's there's 25 copies right now. Oh, 22. Yeah. Only 13, 5 left.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I think it's volume 6 is how to shave your teeth.
That's right. How to shave your teeth. Scratch that plaque off, right? But do I wear it as a badge of honor that I was stupid and learned things like an idiot? No, I do not. I wish I would have listened to older men when I was younger. And I will say that learning things the hard way sometimes drives a lesson home, and that can be valuable, right? You know what I mean? So what I tell my sons is I appeal to them, son, learn from my victories and from my loss. Yeah. Right? Learn from my many mistakes. You know, I hope when I fail, my sons look and say, "Ow, that looks painful," and I can tell them that that was a mistake. Don't do that, and he'll duck and learn from that. But yeah, I learned a lot of things the hard way. I think when I was young, I was an idealist, and these days I'm much more of a principled pragmatist. You know, which is a difference between I want to be a principled pragmatist, not a pragmatic idealist. I don't think those things are real but I just try to live my life in a way that's connected to reality. And when I was young, I think I thought I could work everything out and figure everything out and have my cake and eat it too. And you realize that at some point you have to make sacrifices, choose the path, choose your tribe, run with it. You can't be friends with everybody. And the quicker you can learn that, the better off you are. But for me, this is what I think a lot of people probably can relate to this, is that the things I should have learned in my teens, I learned in my 20s. And the things I should have learned in my 20s, I learned in my 30s. And when you grow up from a broken family without a good father, you find yourself behind the 8 ball quite often. And people say, well, how do you change that? Well, I don't know that you can. You just go as far as you can and make up for it and try to get your kids in a better place. So I guess I'm thankful that I actually learned the lessons. It's better to learn a hard lesson than learn no lesson at all. But I'm hoping my kids won't have to go through the dumb stuff I went through to get where I'm at.
Do you tell your kids any of the hard stories, life lessons, as they get older? I'm sure not your younger kids, but
yeah. They know that I was an atheist. They know that I got arrested a lot. They know that I was prior to becoming a Christian, I was quite violent and got into lots of fights and things like that. I was a really aggressive atheist, right? I was like the new atheist before they were around. You know, I like not only did I not like Christians, I liked to make Christians feel bad, right? I enjoyed watching them squirm, and I can remember. I'll tell you a story. So, my mom wanted me to go to church, so I went to church with her a couple times, and I went to the youth group, and all the Christian youth group kids were just like the worst people, like boring, lame, and not fun at all. And I remember I was listening to this one kid, Daniel was his name, and they're singing some song about Jesus, Lord, my master. And to impress me, he sings something like Jesus, Lord, my bastard, right? And I think he thought that cussing would be like hardcore and that would make me like respect them more or something. And I just thought, like, what in the world are these church people about? You know, I'm trying to figure it out. But then I remember later, Daniel told me that he wanted a testimony like mine, right? I had been an atheist. I'd got into all sorts of trouble and all this stuff. But what I tell my kids is like, look, the best testimony is that I grew up in a Christian home. I didn't have those problems. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't get sucked into pornography. I didn't get sucked into premarital sex. I didn't get sucked into drugs and alcohol and all that stuff. Actually, those people still need the forgiveness of God. They still need the blood of Jesus. But if I could not go through life with some of the memories I have, some of the regrets I have, because I always hear people say no regrets. If you say no regrets, as if you've never done anything wrong, you're just an idiot. You're a dumb person that no one should listen to. I regret the wrong things I did. I don't live underneath the slavery of those regrets. I've moved on. Like, what can I do? I don't have a time machine.
Let me say something to that, because a few times I've said I don't regret things, but I don't regret them the way you said it, though. I've learned.
Yeah.
I think there's a big difference there. I don't like to look to the past. I don't like to live in the past. I like to live in the present. That's so right. I think too many people live in the past. So regretting something, I think is helpful to a point. Am I correct? I mean, would you agree with me on that? But I think living in your regret is a whole different story. And I think a lot of people do that, is live in what they should have, could have, or, have done. So.
Yeah, 100% agree. I do think, though, sometimes the best way to be careful around fire is to have had your hand burned. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes when people are talking about, like, they're glad they learned the hard lesson, I think what they really mean is that they learned the lesson thoroughly, not in the abstract, but through direct experience. And I get that. And I'm glad that I've learned, one reason the red pill rage never took over me is that I ran with a lot of guys that knew how women work, even when I was a teenager, right? I didn't really have, never had one-itis, never believed in soulmates, never thought women were perfect angels. I was like a white kid running with all the black kids in Southern Indiana. And white girls love to piss their daddies off and date the black guys. And so these women were like throwing themselves at my friends. And so when I went to church and I heard people talk about how women, you know, are these little angels, I mean, like, it wasn't what I saw, right? And so I do see some of the ways I grew up. I'm very thankful for it, even though it cost me. And so I think God can work through terrible things. And certainly that's how it's played out in my life.
You know, something I've been thinking about a lot recently is you said that something about picking sides just now. Pick. Kind of the thing is what I got. Pick. It reminds me of something. Choose you this day who you'll serve. And then there's something in me that's like, whoa. Don't be careful to pick sides. Don't pick sides. Should we be, you know, been thinking about picking sides? I think picking sides is a good thing. Like commit.
I think that depends on like who you're picking sides with.
Well, I don't mean relationships kind of the thing,
Yeah.
but I guess it could be.
Yeah,
well, it's clear who man picked side with. He picked sides with the hat wearing crew.
yeah.
All of us. Look at this thing. What's he got going on? This is like a sort of you're about to not be alone anymore.
I think I'm the only one with the clean shaven.
I got an anti-Velasquez hat.
There we go. No, I'm with you. I'm with you, Gene. Well, you're talking about I said I had to kind of choose my tribe to run with.
Yeah, that's kind of the lesson. That's kind of where I came. It was like I came to a crossroads. Like, now pick. It like I came to a point where I was like, okay, now pick. And I'm like, well, this ain't working, so I'm picking this. But it's like when you do pick, you can't have both at the same time.
I'll tell you a story about porn. There we go.
Oh boy.
All right. So 1997, I become a Christian, 17 years old. Before that, I was kind of running with the rough crew, got in a lot of trouble. And sometimes we'd skip school and watch pornography, right? And you know, because we didn't really have like you had like your dad's VHSs, your uncle or something. You didn't really have like internet porn or anything like that. And so I become a Christian and I go over to my friend's house right after I get out of school, and they're like watching like some rough video of something, right? And I knock on the door and I'm like, hey, let me in. And they're like, you can't come in here. And I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, no. Michael, you told us you're a Christian. Christians can't come and watch this stuff. I was like, hey, let me in, man. Stop playing. Let me in the house. Right. And they're like, no, you chose. And it was really funny. These are like two really close friends telling me that since I decided to be a Christian, they as friends wouldn't let me watch pornography, which was actually, so it's really strange. They were not Christians at all. My closest friend at the time, he ended up being the best man at my wedding. He was an atheist. Today, he's like a theist of some sort. But anyhow, when you do pick, people want you. People will respect folks that actually take a position, right? And but I used to always tell people I liked Howard Dean more than John Kerry. Do you remember Howard Dean? You might be able to, some of y'all.
Yeah.
Right. So
I want to do that myself. Woo!
So John Kerry was whoever he needed to be for the room. Flip flop, right? And then you look at Howard Dean. Howard Dean's a crazy liberal. But Howard Dean doesn't hide that he's a crazy liberal. And so at some level, you're like, look, dude, you're nuts, but you're all in and you're honest. How do you not respect that more than some guy that reads the room and just tries to be a chameleon? And that's what you see in the manosphere. I think we all struggle with. You're like, look, you're a PUA that's all about sleeping with chicks. I'm not. I'm going to call you to repentance, man. But like, don't pretend to be something you're not, right? I think like that's when men are honest and upfront, at least we can have conversations that are real and not fake in a big show. And anyway, I don't know how I got off on that little tangent, but something made me think about it. Oh yeah, just pick it aside. Pick it aside. Yeah, pick a side, man. You're going to be a Christian? Go all in. Screw this world. I don't need their approval. You can ban me on Twitter, on Gab. I can lose my YouTube channel. I'll be fine. Right?
I'm on your tribe, Foster. I'm on your tribe, man. I'm on your tribe.
Man.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that. You can't have things out here but want to be a Christian at the same time. You just can't.
You know, it's funny you talk about picking sides, and there's a lesson that I've learned is I'm always, this is a hard lesson that I've learned recently, that I'm always open to talking to people, whether I've picked a side or not. I'm always open to discourse, always open to speaking with people, talking to somebody. I reached out to somebody, I'm not going to say his name, but I reached out to somebody, I think it was a couple days ago. I talked to Gene about it, who I reached out to. And the response I got was not something I expected. Well, I don't want to say that, but how can I say this? I just reached out to somebody and like, hey, haven't talked to you in a while. How you doing? Wanted to say hey. And I got a response, which I didn't expect a response at all. But I'm not sure if I was testing the character of this man, maybe, because anybody could call me right now. Somebody, let's say, we'll call it somebody in the manosphere that thinks I'm an enemy. And if they were to pick up the phone and call me, wanted to talk to me, there's one thing I have is balls, and that I will answer the phone. I will respond to a text. So what do you guys think about that? About always still keeping the lines of communication open, but doing it with what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit of reserve. In other words, try to understand where this guy is at also. Okay.
You ever heard people? Yeah. You ever heard people say, I just pretend that I don't know what's going on? You ever hear people talk about just pretend to be stupid? I know what's going on. You ever heard that people say that before? Sometimes you got to kind of take that approach with people who picked something you don't agree with, to just sort of love them as your neighbor. You don't have to agree with them or anything like that, if that makes sense. But it doesn't mean you have to draw a divide between a personal relationship. But the values, the spirituality is a huge divide between the two of you. But the personal relationship don't have to be a serious divide in all cases.
I think it's
It's about talking with people, and I don't know if it's Ivan's quote, but Ivan Throne had said, when the talking stops, the shooting starts. And that's figuratively in this context, is that when you still can't talk with somebody, whether I'm not about, me, with the old, we can agree to disagree. I absolutely hate that. It's okay to disagree, period. I'm okay with that. But I can still hang up the phone and not have any anger for that person, not have any regret for talking to that person. So,
Gonzo, where are you getting ready to say?
I'm just smoking on that. I was just thinking, like, I think there's a true art to, because there's some people I think you do have to cut off.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some people that you do have to cut off. There have been people in my life I've definitely cut off,
mm-hmm.
but say they reached out to me one day. Yeah, it's not like I'm just never gonna talk to them again. If they reached out, I think there's an art to building bridges. I think it's easy to cut somebody off in some sense. I think it's much more difficult, and probably a better thing to do is to build a bridge, but not build bridges with bad people, right? Not build bridges with people who are gonna, they're gonna do evil, they're gonna do you wrong. You have to. There's like a tact to it. Yeah.
100% agree. I think another aspect to it is another story. I've got stories tonight. It's been a long day. So I had a falling out with the denomination.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not a denomination. I had a falling out with some elders in a church, and so I went out and I was visiting another area. There's a guy who was friends with the elders of the church I had the falling out with, and he asked me to go out for drinks. And I'm like, whatever, I'll go out for drinks. So he asked me, hey, I noticed that there's some distance between you and that old church group. What went down? I told him, and immediately he took my side. Immediately he was like, oh, that's terrible what they did to you, yada, 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 yada. And what it had the opposite effect that I think what he thought it would, is that when he took my side over his friends, it led to me not trusting him. Because I'm thinking like, dude, you barely know me. Why in the world are you taking my side over your friends? Why don't you think maybe I'm lying? Right? Like this is like what I'm hearing is someone that's a people pleaser, that's a flatterer, someone that's telling me what I want to hear. Like that it didn't make any sense to me at all that he would take my side. Like like if I have got close friends and I got a guy that's telling me that my close friends screwed them over, I'd say, look, I know those people. I kind of doubt they did that. If they did, like, I'd like to get you guys in the same room and sort it out. But I'm not going to be like, oh, that's so terrible they did that, right? Like, come on, they're my friends. They're my crew. Like, what? I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, not the guy I barely know. And the lesson here is a pretty simple one, is men, like, we respect lines in the sand. Like, who do you fall with? Who are you aligned with? Where are we at? Where are distinctions? When I meet with people, I have no trouble in laying out, like, here's what I'm committed to. And then they'll say, well, I'm not committed to that. That doesn't lead to, it's strange. When we acknowledge our differences, it allows the conversation to happen, right? We know the points of disagreement, the places where we can push, we can't. And I think our biggest problem we have in a generation of nice guys is folks that tell everyone what they think they want to hear, right? And if you've been around long enough, you're like, I want a guy that tells me what he really believes, not what he thinks is going to make this a smooth relationship, right? Because like Robert Glover makes this point, that nice guys, what they want more than anything is a smooth relationship, not conflict. Masculine men don't look for fights, but they don't shy away from conflict. They want to know, like, what's up? Where do we fall? We're different. Well, now we know the sides, right? Now we know the teams. Now we know the tensions. And that allows us to, like, okay, we can hook up in this way. Like, I have allies and co-belligerents and enemies. There's allies, people that are with me, preaching Jesus Christ, all about the church. I've got co-belligerents. They hate feminism, they hate communism, they hate Marxism, but maybe they don't fear God. But we're fighting the same enemy, and then I have enemies, right? So even if they're not for Jesus, but they're co-belligerents, I could find a way. But until we, like, put out our cards on the table, then we don't know what we're dealing with. And I think what we need is, like, it's hard to talk to people that aren't honest. And I think what people need to know is, like, look, if you're straight up, even if it's something that's I don't want to hear, at least I'll respect you because I know you're speaking the truth. I think that's the key.
That's why I say I'm open to reaching out to people or people reaching out to me, regardless of how I agree with them. I think talking is very, very important. Whether or not we agree or disagree, I think that's important, is talking. Let's look at Zane's. What are your thoughts on YouTube content creators in the manosphere siding with other content creators based on how bright they are in the spotlight at that particular moment in time? I think it's that's really a popularity contest is what it is. In other words, I'm going to align with this guy. I think you can do it if you have the same belief system. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if you're doing it for other reasons, I think you have an issue. I really do.
I was gonna say the same thing. It's like back in high school, you want to hang out with the cool kids or the in crowd, jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, this team's good, doing good right now. Oh, I'm gonna root for that team. Oh no, this team's doing good this season. Yeah, I'm on that team. And it goes back to what Michael Foster's saying. They're not picking a sides. It's like this pleasing. You want to be accepted by everybody. You're in kind of limbo. You don't stand on solid ground. Like, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is what I believe. Okay, you accept it. Okay, you don't accept it. All right, that's not my problem whether you accept it or not. I mean, this is the package you get, and I think that's an issue with that. Those kinds of people.
How about Gonzo? What do you think of that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I left a comment. I said people who want to play the popularity contest game need to go back to high school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's exactly it, because the truth doesn't change. The truth doesn't just change overnight. I mean, sure, there may be different ways to handle different situations. There's a season for everything, right, as they say. But yeah, the truth doesn't change. I think chameleons are dangerous. Like we talked about this a few different times, but yeah.
How about Primal Man, Gene? How about you?
I'm just listening.
I mean, you know what? I think all of us came onto this stream organically. I think that it was kind of a almost like a live bonding session, and we don't all agree on everything, and that's okay. I have no issue with that. But I think there's a very real dynamic here, which I like, is that we're all speaking, I think, from our heart. I think we're all trying to speak, I don't want to say a universal truth, but we're speaking truth as we know it and trying to look at things rationally. And we do have, I think everybody on this panel is a Christian, I know, which might irritate some people, but, that's okay. But I think all of us, I'm going to say that all 5 of us here on this panel probably have some sort of different view on Christianity. I think that's a good way to put it. So,
y'all want to break that down? We can break that down.
Yeah.
21
Studios. Anthony says, "A woman, brother." Yeah.
It's funny.
People pleasers displease me terribly. Yeah.
It reminds me of yes men. Those kind of yes men, no matter what. Yes, okay, yes, sir. Yes, okay, yes. Whatever you want.
So my church right now is growing rapidly, and it's because so many people are up in the air because of COVID and Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. People are like moving from churches. So there's more people moving from churches than there has been maybe ever in modern times. It's a really crazy time. But when people come into my church and immediately praise me and tell me how terrible their last church is, I'm like, that's trouble, right? Because I'm a hiring manager. I've been a hiring manager for several different companies. So I've probably hired, I don't know, 700 people, something like that. And one of my rules is that if you come in talking smack about your last employer, you're not getting past me. I don't have any time for it. Cause I know if you're trying to build me up as a hero against the villain of someone else in your life, I will be the villain in the next iteration of this conversation. Next person you go to, next employer, next church, whatever. And I think that's what when someone is trying to build you, flatter you and build you up, it's definitely connected to what they're trying to get from you. You know what I mean? And I think that's what a lot of people have to learn, right? Like when people are telling you, "Oh, no, all women are terrible. You can't find any good women." I mean, I did, but you can't. They're all terrible, and you're right to give up, and you're right to be mad, and they're totally telling you all your thoughts are right. Anyone in your life that tells you everything you think is right is using you, right? They are trying to get something from you. I don't know if it's approval, if it's money, whatever. And again, this is something, I know this has been a theme on Tony's shows on and off, but this is another thing we see in the manosphere where guys are I'd rather someone just straight up tell me they disagree than someone tell me they agree with everything. What's the chances of that? Yeah, and what's the chances that 2 people agree on everything?
It's funny because, again, hard lessons and learning life the hard way tonight. I think that when people get stuck into that certain corner of a manosphere, we talked about this, I think it was offline, about how guys will lose their identity. They graft on to the identity of that group. So they lose their own identity. And I think that's one of the issues with certain types of content. In other words, if you don't agree with us, you're gone. If you're not saying, I'll say it, she's just yours, or whatever. What is it? She's not yours.
It's just your turn. Yeah.
Women wait at the finish line to fuck the winners. If you're not repeating that in the chat, if you make any comment against that, you are no longer allowed in this club.
Yeah, only beta males say dumb stuff like that. Only weak beta males. Yeah. Because all my kids are little clones of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in this for 20 years. I don't know what they're talking about. Sorry.
You know what's funny though? That's how it should be though, Michael. I had I had a talk with a friend of mine some time ago, and he was giving me a hard time, like, because I was telling how I was raising my kids, and my friend was like, why are you brainwashing your children? I said, well, what are you talking about? They're my children. This is my worldview, my point of view. If I'm not influencing them, the world, television, internet, whoever's going to influence them. I mean,
A woman.
whatever, right? I mean, but children, they're white canvases. They're sponges. They pick up things from their environment, from everything around them. You know, what we as parents have to be giant filters and guides and teachers and everything. So I made that comment to my friend. He was like, why do you look at it as brainwashing? I look at it as rearing and educating and bringing them up. So I just thought that was an interesting comment. Like you said, your children are clones of you. I'm trying to make my children clones of me too. I think I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty damn good sometimes.
I don't want them to be clones. There's a lot of other people I don't want them to be clones of.
Right?
Yeah,
that's like my point. Exactly. So
y'all ready for some little mini beardos or what?
Yeah, that's funny, Beardo. Yeah, Gene got that. I think that was in the Great Vegan Debate. He called him Beardo.
Yeah.
That was his nickname.
That guy with the beard.
Yeah.
You know, I got to say, in this conversation that we've been having tonight, I really didn't like what that guy with the beard said. It really bothered me.
Well, okay, let me see. I think I have that here. Let me play it real quick, just for everybody to see. If you don't know what we're talking about, this was the Great Vegan Debate. I believe it's this one right here. Respectful to you. I've been sitting back.
Actually, Tony, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, Tony, I'm not gonna lie. You and Chris, I actually thought, like, earlier, if you would have asked me who is more likely to start a fight with you, I would have guessed Chris and the guy with the beard. I wouldn't have guessed Paul, Tony, or you. And it turns out that Chris is pretty much reasonable, and even the guy with the beard started being reasonable. He changed, I think. He was more negative before, but now he's nice. And now Paul just became negative, and Anthony became a jerk.
This is why you don't judge people.
I'm never reasonable. I've never been reasonable.
Look, I haven't had this much fun on Saturday night in a long time.
I love that clip.
You know what's funny though? Now everybody's a bearded guy except for me, so it's gonna be like the non-bearded guy.
These guys ain't got beards, Finn. Come on now.
Sorry.
We'll call you Beardless. That's Mr. Finn's new nickname is Beardless. Yeah. We got Beardo and Beardless. So I was in a debate that is a goatee a beard, and this is really an anchor beard or a Van Dyke. So I consider it a beard.
There's a lot of hate towards goatee. I used to have one, and people would always, I'm a child of the late 80s and 90s, and goatees were like pretty normal back then. But then at some point in the 2000s, like there was a lot of animosity towards goatee. Oh, so you're wearing the goatee? Like, is this the thing? Like, am I not allowed to wear a goatee? Like when did it change? I don't keep up on facial hair. I'm sorry. But at some point I went all the way in. So
yeah, I like it. So also I had talked earlier, Michael, about kind of delusional comments on, I think these are delusional, on learning life the hard way. Like somebody that says, I've had it so hard. It's been so hard. People that project that all the time. I tend to look at people that say I've had it so hard or haven't accomplished anything as being lazy. Also, someone who always says somebody's always out to get them. This guy is always out to get me. People like that. I mean, these are, again, it's a learning life the hard way, but would you say that people that say that are looking for something? Do you get what I'm saying? Are looking for
yeah. I think as a general rule, the successful people I know, there's a good portion that had a hard life, and I don't find out about it until years into the relationship. In other words, they don't just volunteer it. So if you watch like Will Smith's movie, The Pursuit of Happiness or whatever, there's people that are just like trying to overcome, and they're not really interested in being victims because they're people of action. People that are always talking about how all the bad things that happened to them, they're bringing it up. It is almost certainly, so they're past minded. They're thinking of the past. And that's usually to justify present performance because they have no future outlook, right? Those are like looking towards the future to build something, are not concerned about the past because they're trying to get free from it. They're trying to move forward. And so I've had the privilege of meeting people as a pastor who have had just horrendous things happen to them. I met one guy, they're going to pick somebody up at the airport, and they had these carts, and the cart machine like compresses the carts and pulls them together, and his kid got stuck in it and compressed and killed the kid, right? Just smashed them, right? Just going to pick someone up to speak at an event or something like that. And his son dies, right? And I didn't know that about him for a long, long time. And how it shaped him as a person. You know, you meet people that have had truly horrific things happen to them. And but it certainly shapes them. But they're not talking about it all the time because they don't want to be defined by it, right? Even if it was a big shape and influence, they're trying to build something in the future. And so when I hear people talk about that stuff, it is almost certainly like a preemptive excuse for their inability to accomplish anything, right? Like, I mean, that's what it usually is when you meet people, is that they want some built-in excuse to explain why they couldn't do what other people have done. But you know, I mean, I've had some bad things happen to me, but I've also had a pretty good life. Like, I came from a broken family, but I grew up in the 80s and 90s where America had lots of money. I was away from home. And we would go out and we'd jump off train bridges, and we would like walk the train tracks, and we would play schoolyard football and baseball, and we would buy sodas for like a quarter and drink it and go play football. You know, we'd watch Unsolved Mysteries and Cops late at night. And it was kind of a simple world, honestly. You know what I mean? And you know, even though that my parents had a bad marriage, my grandmother and grandfather was a really good influence in my life. And so I took all that good stuff that people gave me and I parlayed it. Right? What I want to know is, if I give someone $1, can they turn it into 10? Right? If I give someone 10, can they turn it into 100? And using it as a metaphor, like, do you take the good things in your life and do you run far with it? Or are you looking at all the negatives, all the bad things that happen to you to excuse your lack of getting anything done? And it's not to diminish the real pain and suffering that's happened in those people's life. But we all have pain and suffering. I had my daughter die. You know, I have an autoimmune problem. You know, every once in a while, my immune system just stops working for some reason. It's really hard. You know, like I wake up in the middle of the night and I throw up and there's blood comes out of me. It's just a terrible experience. We all have our difficulties, right? Some of us were molested by our parents. Some of us were told by our parents that they hate us. Some of us were berated. Some of us were rejected. Some of us had our hearts broken. Some of us were divorce raped. Some of us watched our friends die in warfare. A lot of us have had really, really significantly bad things happen to us. And those things remind us of the glory and value of life. Those aren't the things that we use to excuse our not taking advantage of what we have in this time. And so when I hear those delusional comments, I look at someone and I think, you're broken, you're messed up, you're still a victim, and you're not moving forward yet. What can we do to get you free from this?
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's classic, because I think that when people do, you hear people keep going back and back to the past. I think that's more damaging to them, and I think it's damaging the people that they're talking to. You know, I don't think it's always helpful. I think there are certain hard lessons that you learn in life that are valuable, but I've noticed in my lifetime that somebody that does have an issue, you almost have to pry that issue out of them. I don't want to say pry, but you have to kind of search that person's soul a little and see where they're coming from. And then finally they'll tell you what's going on in their life. And I think that's more genuine than people projecting their problems all the time. So
Hey, man, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I think this goes back to what I was saying before. Like, some people like to project that problem because some people like to be victims and they like that attention. And part of their suffering is part of their identity. And it's how they get value in life. And I personally don't understand that, because like what Michael said is about, there's a lot of validity to that, because this is one of the reasons why, like, in my life, I think people look at me, especially where I live here in Brazil. It's like, oh, this guy's an American. He's got to be wealthy. He's always smiling. His life must be good. They have no idea the struggles that I have. And what Mike said is something that I often, when I teach my teenagers and stuff too, like, don't complain. No one likes to complain, or no one likes negativity. Negativity, it's a downer. It brings you down. Like, you don't want to be around anyone with bad hygiene. You don't want to be around anyone who's negative. So don't be that negative person. We all have problems. We all have issues, but don't dwell on them, and focus on them when you can, fix them when you can, but just make better choices or work harder. And it just don't air your dirty laundry. Not everyone wants to hear it, because everyone has their own issues, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think, what I think I touched on this. I think it was, I don't know if it was Sunday night, but about when somebody calls you negative. I think a lot of times that somebody will call you negative because you're telling them the truth. They don't want to hear it. Oh, you're being negative, or you're being mean. But sometimes the truth is taken from the other side as being negative. So those are, these are from my notes from it was the other night. I think it was, there's certain buzzwords. I think it's negativity, drama. Oh, you're starting drama. Another one I hate is you're toxic. I hate that word, toxic. That is, these words, drama, negativity, and toxic, are three words that are way overused. I think when I hear those words, those are buzzwords to me. That's what they are. They're buzzwords. Like, when somebody actually says those words, not saying you, Mr. Finn, by any means, but I think that when somebody personally will call me negative, or you're toxic, or you're starting drama, to me, that's because I'm either helping this person or trying to deliver a little bit of truth to them. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but that was from Sunday night's show. So.
Well, actually, I have a question. So this is kind of like going back to the hard lesson thing, when it comes to like parenting and stuff, right? But I'm just wondering, because I've heard parents say things like, I don't want my children to have the same life that I had. I don't want my children to have a hard life. And I think, where do you draw the line as a parent between, giving your child a good life, and then the negative side of that, depriving them of the lessons, the hard lessons, kind of, that we all have to learn at some point, right? So I don't know, where do you draw the line at? This is just for the parents in the panel.
I want my kids to have a hard life. I don't want them to have an easy life. I've done them a disservice. Yeah. I bought a farm. I'm on my farm right now. Step one is I put in a gigantic French drain across 3 acres of land to drain out the water, so I can put in a huge garden and buy livestock. And I'm going to work them from sun up to sundown every day. And I'm going to break them. that's my goal, man. Like, my goal.
There's one thing I saw, Michael. I think it was one of your tweets that said your kids are not going to have a phone until they have a job with a W-2. Is that correct?
That's correct. So my rule, and W-2, let's put that in quotes, right? So until they have a serious, like, I'm not talking about an opportunity or a side hustle that's like here and there. Mm-hmm. Once they have, so my eldest son turns 15 in October, Hudson, he got his first W-2 job, working for Ace Hardware last fall. And so I wanted to know what was going on. So I went ahead and got him a phone, Gab Wireless. It's like a smartphone that doesn't have an internet browser or any apps on it. I don't want him looking at porn, and I don't want him being on social media. But I do want him to be able to like text gifts to me and take pictures and be able to text with them and call him. So we get our kids that, but none of my kids have social media. Hudson is on a Discord server, but I know the Discord server, and I know what it's related to, and it's a little some edgy stuff on there. But honestly, I went to public schools, and I part of my job is to prepare my kids for the world, not so I ease them into it. I don't create a bubble and keep them in a bubble, but I do I don't throw them into stuff. So we keep our kids from yes, I'll make an exception for 1099. But we don't want our kids to have those things too early. We want to keep it. My kids will tell me they're bored, and I say, good. Boredom is good. You need boredom. Boredom is what leads to creativity. It's what causes thought. The problem we have with so many men is that they read, but they don't digest, right? They consume, but they don't digest. Meditation, like tossing something over your brain over and over and thinking about it. You need times where you're just staring at the clouds. I can think of when I went to the levees in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, which is on the Ohio River. It's where I grew up. I would lay on the levees and look at the clouds, right? You would do that for 2 hours, and no Netflix, no video gaming. Back then we had GoldenEye and stuff. But it wasn't the same sort of gaming, and it would lead me to have some deep thoughts and think through things. I am trying to make my kids' life difficult, not in a weird way, but in a real way that prepares them for what's ahead. And today I was telling my son, so we, Monday through Friday, we do morning devotionals. We go through the Bible for about 15 minutes. And I was telling them hey, if you can't make the right decision when it comes to cleaning up your room, how do you think you will have the moral fortitude and character and virtue to make the right decision in a time of war? Right? We are training you for the future, right? And so I think guys that don't want their kids to have the same life that they had end up destroying their kids. When you look at guys like Bezos or even Steve Jobs, they were very particular in what their kids had. Even though they're not moral men per se, they're not idiots. And they can see that pouring out ease on anyone disables them for the future.
It's great. It's great what you said there about being bored, because I remember doing those same things when I was a kid, going to the locks. We had locks in upstate New York, and we used to go there. We used to fish, and there was a lot of things that we did that I see kids don't do now. Now, I do have a neighbor kid across the street who, incredible fisherman. I mean, this kid is just active, 19 years old. I've watched this kid, since I've been here grow up, but they're raised in a Christian family, a real good structured family for sure. And I see the difference in the way kids, even their daughters and everybody, all the kids that are over there, it's a really, really good family. And I'm really grateful that they're across the street. I mean, they are great father, great mother, and great kids. And I'm really happy to been exposed to that type of family for 20 something years. But let's go back to porn real quick. The funny thing is growing up for me, porn was not easy. Okay. I had my best friend, his father sold merchandise. Let's just say we call it merchandise. A lot of Italians growing up where I grew up, and they all had merchandise. And for us to watch porn, it was I don't even know if it was a Super 8, little tiny video. We knew nothing. We try to load the camera, put the film in, and try to project it onto the cellar, because we had cellars up in upstate New York, onto the cellar wall, and then now the film would all get all tangled up and turn into a big rat's nest, and you try to wrap it back up on there. So I never really got to see video porn when I was growing up. There was too much to actually do and too much to know to see it. So I think it's so accessible to kids right now with a phone. Going back to a phone,
very, very bad.
Yeah. So let me address a couple people here too, just so you know, you guys in the chat, that there's a reason why they call they've been calling, I think it's Matt calling Michael Foster Rain Man. And because Michael Foster was a professional card counter. There's actually a movie about his life called Holy Rollers, just so you guys know. So he's a guy that can you count 7 decks like in a blackjack table?
I can count 8 decks on 4 tables all at once.
I would say he's still a card counter, just not practicing. He wasn't, and I can't say in the past tense because he's still alive.
Look, dude, I haven't played since 2019, but I can tell you that 10's never split. 9 split up to themselves, except on 7. 8's always splits. 7 split up to themselves. 6 split up to themselves. 5's never split. I can go right down. I can tell you exactly all of it. I had to learn basic strategy. My whole life was built around my ability to count cards. If I couldn't do a good job, I would get kicked off the team and my family wouldn't be able to pay their bills. So,
wow.
And it gave me it's funny. I hear I met Will Ferrell. I met a lot of famous people. I met Charles Barkley. OJ Simpson invited me into his room the night before he got arrested in Vegas. I've been arrested.
To do with that, now's the time to say it. So.
Well, here's the funny thing. You guys know that some of you guys know that ethnically I'm Jewish, and he was on the same floor at the Palms Casino that I was at. And there was like all these kind of middle-agers, and there was like this room with lots of lights coming out of it. And there's a guy standing at the door as I got off the elevator. He's like, "Hey man, you want to come into this party?" I'm like, "No, it's cool." He's like, "It's OJ's party." And I said, "OJ, like OJ Simpson?" And it was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Nah, man, I'm Jewish. I saw how that went down last time." So I just kept on going. But it gave me access. I hung out with lots of millionaires. I hung out with a lot of people that pretended to be millionaires. It was actually a really lonely time in my life, if I'm honest. But it was a good experience because it's why I don't get wowed easily. When it's kind of like I know who has money, who doesn't, who has experience. I've just been around those guys because I had a different idea about wealth. I always tell people, my first time I went to Vegas, I wore this really nice jacket and really nice dress shoes. And I dressed up like I imagine it's some poor white kid from Indiana. Imagine rich people would dress. And I end up getting swollen feet that are bleeding because Vegas, the strip back then, it's a little different now. But the strip back then, it was it looked like everything was really close, but it was really far away, actually. I mean, Mandalay Bay all the way down to Stratosphere is a long walk down Las Vegas Boulevard. And I just learned so much. I learned that rich people do not follow Tanner Guzy's rules at all. I'll just tell you right now, all the rich people I know wore back then, that was 2005 to 2008. They all wore cargo shorts and t-shirts, but they're I was hanging out with some dude that was the min bets. It was during Chinese New Year. The min bets at Wynn on some table was $10,000 or some insane amount. And I couldn't even conceive. Some guy came in and you would have never known, the whole James Bond sort of look, not at all. And I remember when pastors found out, how'd you not stumble? How'd not all those sexy women in the casino stumble? I was like, dude, you've never been to Vegas. Sexy women? You mean old Asian chicks? What are you talking about? You guys, so the reality of it, I wish they would have covered more of the reality of what we faced in the movie, but it is what they're making a sitcom based on it. I heard.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that was that
was a learning life the hard way, I guess, but making money at it. So,
I did all right. Yeah.
I've got a question for you here right now, and it's Michael Foster. What are your thoughts on a couple getting an LTR or possibly marriage who share similar values but 2 different religious beliefs?
Oh, yeah, I think it's a terrible idea. Look, your values, if they're similar, but your religions, if they're different, just means that you have not thought these things through yet. Worldviews will pull apart. Religions will pull apart over time. And what I always, the focal point of my marriage is the glory of God, right? That's what Emily and I always told my wife, I'll pick God over you every time, right? If someone says deny God or I shoot your wife, I'm not denying God. I'm all in, guys. I'm all in. I'm the real thing. I'm going all the way at this point. To live as Christ, to die as gain. I'm
kind of confused about his question. How do you have similar values but same different religious beliefs? If you have different religious beliefs, you have different values.
Well, not necessarily, because you have Judeo-Christian, right? You know, so you have similar values.
I mean, it'd be like a Catholic and a Lutheran. I mean, I think that's kind of the.
I mean, is this Christianity different religions like Catholicism and Protestant? What are we talking? Muslim and Christian?
I mean,
what are we talking?
Well, that's kind of what I thought too. I think there's similar values in different religions. I mean, you know, treat people good, you know, blah blah blah. But there's also the religious beliefs are different. I mean. I think there's, you know, there can be like, say, a Hindu and a Christian. You know, I'm not saying Muslim. Say a Hindu and a Christian. I think you have similar values, but your religious beliefs are different on who you pray to. Maybe a religious belief would be who you pray to, or that's
what about a Protestant and a Catholic? What's the difference? You know,
that's a more complicated question, but I always hear people say. So Americans worship choice, right? Like, well, I'm going to let my kids choose a religion. Like hell, I'm going to let my kids pick my religion. Like I make zero. I'm not sorry for that. Buddhism's wrong. Islam's wrong. You guys can't hang. I'll destroy you. Like, it's not hard. I know I'm a Christian because it's true, because God saved me. I 100% believe it. I'm unapologetic. That doesn't mean we can't be friends, but I want my kids to be Christians too. Oh, so you're going to force them? I'm not going to force them, but when you're in my house, you abide by my house rules. In my house, we go to church every Sunday. We have devotions. My kids are allowed to doubt. My kids are allowed to ask questions. They're allowed to struggle. I'm gonna hear them. That's not a problem. I'm not that insecure. But fosters are Christians, right? That's how we do this. And I always so if my wife wasn't a Christian or was some drastically different Christian denomination, right, far out, right, I wouldn't. It would be a problem for me. So I would say religiously, you're looking for people that have the same core values, right? Like, and I think you can have surface level values that are very similar, but I think ultimately your ultimate commitments will show themselves over time, and you can make that. You can get married to that person, but I think it's going to be a real rough way to go. That's on you. I personally would not marry a Christian to a non-Christian. I would marry two non-Christians. I don't have a problem with that. I think marriage is a natural thing. So if two non-Christians like, look, we're not so sure, but we'd like to have a pastor do the wedding, would you do it? And I'd be like, yeah, man, let's do this. Well, let's talk through a few things. Make sure you thought this through. But I think what I don't want is two people that love each other, and because of the strength of their emotions, they're holding together. And then when their kids are in the mix, they start to pull apart because they're ultimate commitments. What a marriage needs to hold together, it needs something greater than itself. You can't have the purpose of the marriage terminate inside the marriage. It has to terminate out. And so for Emily and I, we look towards the world together, side by side. Like our fulfillment is not us looking at each other. I don't exist to fulfill Emily's world. She doesn't exist to fulfill my world. That's why you could know the red pill for a lot of guys are just blue pill. They just want a woman that's going to worship them. And then if a woman worships and loves them and have sex with them, that gives them value. That shows you how femme-centric their entire psychology is, right? That's not a good psychology to have. Your psychology, you need your mindset to be set outside of yourself. So Emily and I look towards the glory of God, right? The chief purpose of man is to glorify him and enjoy him forever. That's the purpose of our marriage. If you're a Buddhist and you believe that all is one, there's Brahman, ultimate reality, and all distinctions are actually just an illusion, or if you're a Christian where you believe actually reality is reality and distinctions are real, that's going to change the way you parent eventually. It might not right away. There might be some peaceful years. But man, when the shit hits the fan, that stuff's going to come out. So I would urge you not to do that. But it's America, and you can do all sorts of crazy things in this country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love the way you put that. Anthony Velasquez has a question. Vegans can be Christian, and I'll answer this question. They are just unhealthy, physically unhealthy Christians. That's it.
Christians with the vitamin B or B12 deficiency, right? Yeah.
Well, and I just I agree 100% with what you just said, Michael. I think like that's like the way things like split apart as soon as the kids get involved, and then it's like, well, what are we going to teach the kids? That's always seems to be how it happens. And I do just want to tell my story because I know that it's not applicable to everybody because it really could have screwed me. All right, this is the truth. It really could have screwed me. It was a huge risk, I guess, that I took. It wasn't the best decision. It's not something I would advise. But when I'd say like in my relationship, like right at the beginning, I mean, I could tell you word for word. My wife said to me, my girlfriend at the time, she said, "There's no way I could ever believe in a sky daddy." Those were her words exactly. And at the time, I wouldn't say I was full on like atheist, because I would actually like get into debates with atheists. Like I would get into like people would like come up with these arguments like against God and all this stuff, and I'd be like, that's kind of dumb. Like that's just a really bad argument, and then I'd explain why it's a bad argument. And but inside, I couldn't really say that I had like full on faith. I may have had faith, but it was just a very, very small amount. So you could say I was just a closeted Christian for the most part. And so, that's how the relationship started. But at a critical point earlier on, it clicked for both of us. And so I think it can work. It's not advisable. I think Michael is like totally on point when he says, people, they get invested with their emotions. They get invested with, oh, this feels good. This feels right. You get the sex involved, you get all this different stuff involved. All these different incentives can become involved in the relationship. And at some point it'll reach a critical point where things just fall apart. So yeah, it needs to click. That's the point. I think it just needs to click for both of you. And a lot of the times that's not going to work, especially with like different denominations with different, and they're different values. That's what they are. Maybe you could have differing values, or maybe you could have similar values, but maybe you're just not being loyal to the denomination. I don't know.
There's a difference between, so if we want to use metaphors, right? Like, let's say Christianity is football and denominations are football teams, right? There's reciprocity towards, across, but rugby is a whole nother thing, right? And so interdenominational marriage, it wouldn't be something I'd be against because we're still part of the broad category, necessarily. Whereas like interreligious marriage, I think is foolish. Scripture, it's a major theme in Scripture. So one of the main ways that people are destroyed in Scripture is marrying sexy women who worship false gods.
Samson and Delilah, right?
That's one, but it goes back to Genesis 6. It goes all the way through Abraham's do not let my son marry one of them. That comes up over and over again with the patriarchal promises. And it's because guys are crazy, right? Guys can conquer entire cities, conquer kingdoms, and totally have their life turned upside down by a woman.
Jezebel.
Yeah, women are powerful. Women are that's why if you get a woman that's aimed the same direction you're aimed, that loves you and is with you on mission, is what a lot of these guys don't know that come from broken families. Like if you're a PUA, you almost certainly had trauma in your life early on. I'm not going to say that's true of all of them, but I think it's true of most of them. And I remember reading The Game by Neil Strauss. He's got this really good line in it where he talks about how as what's his name, Mystery, was teaching him how to pick up women. He was teaching him what his parents and friends failed to teach him, right? That he never learned social ability. And a lot of these guys that are have a problem with marriage, they've never seen the power of a marriage when two people are committed to the same God and heading the same direction. I mean, my wife and I, we work 14 hours every day, side by side. Like, I mean, she has my back. I have her back. We're parenting our kids. It is a beautiful thing. It's amazing. I can't believe I got this because I come from a broken family like a lot of people. In our early marriage, we threw a lot of lamps, man, a lot of holes in drywall, a lot of dumb stuff. Like, we don't have it all figured out, but we've grown together. And I'll tell you, when you have someone that fears the same God that you fear, and you love your children, not just because they're your children, but because God commands you to, what you can accomplish, what Emily and I are accomplishing, is a testimony to God's grace and mercy. Like, we've had 7 kids. I've just finished the book. I'm on my second church plant, my third pastorate. I'm nobody. I got expelled my freshman year. I barely graduated high school. You know what I mean? And every day, like, Twitter doesn't affect me. Every day I go to bed. I dream beside the woman I love. You know what I mean? And so what I don't want to do is send guys like to a woman that will give them some level of peace for a moment. But man, women will turn your children against you if things go bad. Like, I don't know how guys don't know this, but women will absolutely turn their children against you if things go sideways. And what we've got going on here is if my wife actually fears God, and so she won't turn my children against me, because if she turns her children against their earthly father, it will affect their relationship with their heavenly father. And I'm just telling you, man, like, people can play like to Chris Gonzo. God was merciful. You guys worked things out. That's an awesome testimony to God. Praise the Lord. Right? God works through that stuff. I do not want to demean that. I wish I could say I haven't seen Flirt and Convert work. Truth be told, I have. I would never recommend it.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
but it's worked out. Like, I'm not going to deny it. You know what I mean? It usually works out when the guy is a strong Christian. Usually, but and I think that's just because men are naturally patriarchs, naturally leaders. But man, guys that get into these relationships with these chicks that aren't Christians, I mean, those Christians, they have like 10 good years, and those girls gut them and turn their kids against them. Why risk that? You know what I mean?
Christian in name only. Stay away from them.
Yeah. Well, and I think the only reason why it worked for me, just in my case, I think it was because, like, you know, like, my wife, like, at the time, she knew that it wasn't working. She knew that, like, the society, brainwashing, all this stuff going on, it wasn't working.
That's amazing. It's amazing she realized that on her own. That is truly amazing to me. It really is. A woman realized that on her own. That blows my mind.
And so that's why I tell guys, like, you don't know. You could trip over one of these women. You could. They exist. They're out there. And so there are just some women who need to hear the truth. They know something's wrong, but they need to hear the truth. And so that's what the case was for me. And so that's why it clicked. Is like, she wanted to be led. She wanted to, figure out what was wrong with society, with her own life, with all this stuff, with her family, everything. And she came from a screwed family, screwed up all the way. Evil mother, beta father, the whole 9 yards. Is just a mess. Divorces left, right, and center. We're talking like a mother who just has no love for her children at all, like zero love for her children.
Chris, you are the future. You are the absolute future. This is what pastors have to realize. This is what I have to like. The past is burnt and destroyed. we live in a burning heap of ashes. That's what. So I always think of Nehemiah, where Nehemiah at the beginning. Read the book of Nehemiah. I recommend everybody, even if you're not a Christian, you'll enjoy it. Nehemiah. At the beginning, he's like, "Hey guys, tell me about Jerusalem." And these guys are visiting Babylon. And they're like, "Look, the walls are broken down and the gates are burned. The walls are what protects the city. The gates is actually where they have courts, where they make judgments and give wisdom. They're all gone." And where we're at right now is they're all destroyed. And my experience is that the millennial women are mostly destroyed. It's a really sad thing. Like all of the thirsty, horny, blue pill, pretending to be red pill guys resent them because they want to get with them. I'm a pastor. I don't think that way, right? I can see past all those weak guys, you know. And I look at these, and these are daughters of a father, daughters of a mother, right? So like, my heart breaks for them. I don't know how to fix them. I've tried. It's not gone very well. But the millennials and the Zoomer men, I have a lot of hope because they actually are like, look, the conservatives are playing us, the liberals are playing us, feminism's a lie, modernity's a lie. They're like waking up to these things. And I think if these guys will remove themselves from a lot of the current conventions and go back to something a little more ancient, rooted in scripture, and start to build households, I'm really optimistic. You know, I'm really optimistic about young men because I think they're questioning things. This is why some of the people in the manosphere that don't know any history, right? All they know is so suave, right? So suave. I mean, big deal. Like, come on. Like, what history books have you read? Like, what time have you put into the subject? It's amazing how uneducated they are. Seriously, it's like stunning how stupid. But these guys that will go back further, I am betting on. I'm betting my life on Zoomers and young millennials. My entire ministry is betting on them. I'm thinking like my generation is screwed up and the older generation is, but if I can get these Zoomers and millennials, if I can create a place for them and point them, I think they can build something bigger. And I just, when I hear you and your wife work in the same place, it gives me a lot of hope because what society needs is men leading their homes and functional marriages where kids can grow up and know they have dad and they have mom and they're safe and they can learn all those things. So you guys are the future. You can lead the way.
Well, is that a learning life the hard way, Gonzo?
I mean, I guess okay, you think about, I see these guys in the YouTube comments, right? Because I get comments on this stuff, right? And they're like, guys, we like, I got one like today and like the other day, but you know, these guys, they have this sentiment of like, we need to run away from women. Like guys, it's not even worth getting involved with women at all. And I understand that. I understand because these guys get burned, right? Man, it could have been the really hard way for me. That's what I really want to make clear. It really could have been. Like, considering my situation, if you look at my situation, if you would have seen it from the outside looking in at the time when it had gone down, you'd be like, "Oh, this guy's so screwed." This guy's going to be so screwed. And I absolutely could have been. I mean, I guess it remains to be seen, right? You never know what can happen, but I have faith. I have I believe entirely on the foundation of everything. So
I kind of want to I want to address Zane's question really quick, the original question. You sort of have to let go. There's no other choice at that point. If you love the woman, I'm not saying dump her or break up with her or anything, but the situation of wanting her to change, you have to let go of that. The only way anything ever worked, the only way you ever marry her, just in my advice, is if God changes her priorities. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't change anything too. I want to specify. Like, nothing was forced in this relationship at all.
Yeah.
It happened naturally. It clicked. There's no force on my part.
Jesse, it's really helpful
Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
We hear everything she says. We love her on the show, to be honest. I love hearing her little comments in the background. It's great. It wouldn't be the same without that.
All right, guys, it's been 2.5 hours, and we're going to start wrapping it up. So, learning life the hard way. We'll start with me. I think that learning the hard way is something you hold on to yourself. If somebody needs to hear it, I think let them know, because as we had said earlier, it's nice to learn from other people that learn the hard way, but I don't think that's a reality nowadays. And even growing up, I think that when somebody tells you something that, hey, I did it this way, you need to do it this way, learn from me, most people tend to reject that because you have to find out for yourself. So find out for yourself if you have to. Learn the hard way. I've been down that road many, many times, but I don't use that as a badge of honor. So we had talked in depth about this with Michael Foster and everybody on the panel. So that's kind of my advice. I don't even want to call it advice, but my support to you is that take that, learn from it, and move on. If somebody really needs it, let them know. So, Mr. Finn, we'll go to you.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you once again for having me on. Life is hard. Like, this is why we need to respect and honor our elders, because to get to that point, they are champions and warriors. Life by itself is hard. So it is inevitable to learn lessons the hard way. Now, those who are able to learn through example of others and instruction, that shows some insight and wisdom, and good on you. But I think, unfortunately, most people suffer from the great sin of pride and want to walk their own path, fall on their face, and learn that lesson the hard way. I had mentioned it when we started. Michael Foster did say it also. Those lessons that you learn the hard way, it hits home. Those are the lessons that stick. I think we can all say that we've all done something, and man, I don't think I'll do that again. So it's a part of life. If you do learn that lesson, then you've come out stronger. Like I've said before, sometimes you win, but sometimes you learn. You only lose when you give up. So thank you.
Excellent, Mr. Finn. How about Gonzo? Next to you.
Encouragement for doing things the hard way. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is the only way. Sometimes the only way is to do things the hard way. And that's just something, that's kind of just a cross that we all bear. We can all think of those times, right? Like we think of, we were talking about regrets earlier. I agree that, like, if what we're going to call regrets, they shouldn't stick with you. They don't linger. You can't change the past, right? And I love what Michael Foster said earlier about looking forward, building something in the future. And that's just the mentality that I want to hone in, I want to focus in on. And I think that's something that everybody should strive for, is just to try to build something in the future instead of looking into the past. And so, hey, maybe along the way you're going to learn the hard lessons. And you're not always going to see them coming. But you can't be afraid of that either. You can't be afraid of anything, really. You just have to charge forward. So that's my 2 cents. Just charge forward every day. Do what's in front of you to do.
Excellent. I love it. How about Primal Man, Gene?
I'm still processing my thoughts on this one. I know what I want to say. I'm just trying to figure out how I want to say it. Choose who you will serve today. If you don't want part of this culture, commit to the thing that's right. Draw a line. It really is black and white. This culture is a mess. I don't want nothing to do with it anymore. So choose who you'll serve, and also the people that are on the other side of that line. It's not saying cutting them off, but spiritually there will be a divide. Let go and let God.
Excellent. Michael Foster?
when I was
the hard way. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was 7 years old, I went to the Pete's family reunion in Napoleon, Indiana, and I had to use the restroom because I drank a lot of beer at 7 years old because Germans do that. And I went and I peed on an electric fence.
I've done that. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody can do that once.
Yeah. Don't pee on an electric fence. It's a shocking experience. It's not exhilarating at all. It's I just don't recommend it on the whole.
Wrenches conduct electricity now.
That's yep. And somehow I still produced quite a decent number of children. None with superpowers, as you might expect. But learning things the hard way. What would I say? God is gracious, and when you're upset, when you're feeling a lot of intense emotions, it is good to step back, take a break, figure out what went wrong, right? Figure it out. And a lot of guys in the manosphere are hurting. You've gone through bad divorces. You've had women use you. You've had a lot of guys make promises to not fulfill it. Learn from it. That what you need is brothers and fathers, and you need a God, right? You need a God to worship. You need brothers alongside you and fathers to mentor you on the way. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone, guys. So like learn from those of us that have took a while to find our people. You know what I mean? And so that's my message to men. You're not alone. There's guys out there that understand, that sincerely love you without any sort of emotional nonsense, and will lead you on the way and will help you become the man that God made you to be. So it took me a long time to learn that, but God is gracious, and I had other brothers to help me along the way, and I'm happy to be that to other people.
I love that message that you said. I've said that a lot to guys here on the streams, is that you're not alone. You're not necessarily coming here or to this channel or to other channels for advice, but definitely this channel, you're coming for support, and we're here to support any man that wants support. You can reach out to me on Twitter, T21Surfer, on Instagram or Twitter. You can message me, direct message me, ask me anything. I appreciate everybody who has reached out to me over the past couple months. I think that's awesome. Anything you say to me will be kept private, of course, but I do appreciate everybody that has reached out to me. But what I say is you're not alone. You're going through hard times. You're learning a life lesson the hard way. Reach out for support. Sometimes it's good. And sometimes take the advice from, say, this panel of men right now. And, well, I don't want to say advice again, but take the support of their life experiences. We have a wide range of ages here. So it's pretty important. I want to see, men and women grow and grow together. I think that's important. But great stream, guys. Learning life the hard way. So that was the topic tonight. So I appreciate all of you. I want to recognize everybody in the chat. Anthony Velasquez, of course, Matt M, John Boston, our newest mod. I see Primal Man in there. Vivian, of course. I see, is it PDJ Rocks? Good to see you.
Oh, no.
What happened?
We lost Tony.
Ruh-roh.
He got taken down.
Holy crap. The rapture happened and it was only Tony.
I swiped a little too hard on my laptop here, and it swiped me right off.
Gone.
But anyways, I want to recognize everybody. Roy Cantrell, Michael Foster, Carly Ellison, PDJ Rocks. Who else do we have here? I think Emmanuel Godson was in earlier. Of course, Michael Foster, special guest. Always awesome having you here. And anybody else, my buddy Ben. Ben, good to see you in here tonight, man. That was really cool. Mighty Zane. I don't want to miss anybody. But everybody who's jumped in here tonight, man, this is really awesome. I didn't mean to disappear on you guys. It's just that my my swiping finger is pretty fast here. So, and if I swipe too hard to the right, I get lost. And that goes on dating apps too. So, anyways, I appreciate everybody on the panel tonight. And I want you all to come back to Saturday night, get it off your chest. Saturday night is the night where you can jump on this live stream, get it off your chest, talk about anything you want. I'd love to see y'all back. It's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come on back and check us out. We're going to have our panel of regulars. It depends who's going to be here, but you'll probably see most of us here. So, but thanks everybody for joining us tonight. The chat, my panel, much love, honor, and respect to everybody. Cheers.